Greetings, family. Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, Pyramids. I am Uncle Ankh. We are about to have our featured guest tonight, the honorary RaAkhu. Um, Let me just adjust my phone. I'm out here in the park because it's so nice out. I didn't feel like coming in. So let me see. Which way am I going to talk? I'll flip it upside down. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's do the opening the way we always do before we bring on our guest. So, thank you for being with us tonight, whether it's live or in the future. We're going to have a fantastic presentation, and let us begin with the opening invocation. Uh, let's see, I'm using my cell phone, so bear with me. Here we go. Well, before we even go any further, as always, I always love to have y'all put what part of the world you're listening from so we can get a panoramic experience of those who are questioning everything. With that being said, come on.
Putting out a call to the warrior in you, to the healer in you, the king, the queen, the magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Love, wisdom, power. Remember always who you are. Yes, I am. Love, wisdom, power. Yes, I am. Love, yes, power. Yes, I am. Love, wisdom. Yes, I am. Love, wisdom, power. Yes, I am. Love, wisdom, power. Master. Yes, I am. Yes, love, wisdom, power. Yes, I am. You say to yourself, yes, I am protected. Yes, I am master. I am relaxing.
Okay, I want to thank everyone who joined us yesterday. We had an incredible show about how to connect with our loved ones in the afterlife. I'm inspired to do a workshop so that we can go deeper into and beginning developing these lines of communication to know that we are never forgotten and we are always connected to life beyond life. That being said, I want to thank everyone for being born. Thank you for being alive. Thank you for conception to your incarnation. Uh, and thank you for questioning the dark ages of prison planet, chicken farm earth. Uh, More than that, know you're greater than your memories. and you're born on a mission. And hopefully, these pages, these paragraphs, will assist you in the tools of awareness to make your dream incarnation successful. So, here in Brooklyn, we got a cool breeze happening tonight. You can see the sway of the trees as summer reaches its zenith at the end of July. And in this short summertime experience, this is a park known as Ronald McNair Park. This is Brooklyn Museum right over here. Uh, this is my backyard in the sense of speaking. Just showing you what it looked like. It has like a lot of trees, huge trees. I didn't feel like going in the house tonight. I felt like being outside while the sun, a little bit of sunlight that's left. Um, so RaAkhu can take us from the daylight knowledge into the darkness and reveal. The title of the show tonight is The Origin of Everything. Let me see what a brother is. He should be joining us shortly. Okay, he's not here yet, but I just got off the phone with him. On the shoulders of our ancestors, I thank and invite, we thank and invite the spirit of Ubuntu, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Black Madonna, Angel of Protection, Archangel Michael. Protect our family, friends, loved ones, especially our children, our women, because if you look it up, 800 to 100,000 sisters disappear every year without a trace. Sometimes they find a few. That's a unaddressed crisis that's happening here in the States. Um, so we need to know we can call on forces of nature, Archangel Michael, to protect our brothers, our sisters, wherever they may be, by invoking Archangel Michael, regardless of your philosophy. Just like you have brakes in your car. Your brakes in your car don't care if you Catholic, Jew, or Hindu. The brakes work. That's the same way with the angelic force of Archangel Michael. You want to have on knee-jerk knowledge reaction when you sense danger. That means that you have the time to shift the, the outcome to be a dream master in a safe zone. Even starships have deflector shields, protection. Second Amendment, protection here in this country, the right to bear arms. You have the right to bear spiritual protection and flex it when needed. I'm inspired to do the workshop. So not only do you reconnect with your loved ones, but with the challenges in this life, you will have to your access a ghost army of your ancestors who will assist you when it's karmically due for justice to be shared with you. Yeah, we're going to start with these workshop series, how to connect with your loved ones in the afterlife, and then how to have your ancestors, your loved ones in the afterlife, become your protectors, your soldiers, your healing warriors. So if injustice is done to you, you will have an army, a ghost army that you can call on to assist you so you may prevail. successfully in this dream reality. This kind of knowledge is not wanted to be shared amongst the dark age prison planet occupants because you may possibly upset the structure of the prison planet. But it's high mighty time you learn how to call on your angelic ghost army, your ancestral ghost army, your ascended master ghost army, so you know you're never alone in your endeavors and your challenges, economically, uh, socially, health wise, or otherwise. Oh, okay, I just got a text. He's having a problem with his camera, so he'll be on within 5 or 10 minutes. So that's fine. So RaAkhu will be with us shortly. But yeah, you deserve to know how to call on, like your immune system has white blood cells to attack parasitic infiltrators into your body. You have the right to be able to call on your angelic ancestral ascended master white blood cells. And I like that term, ghost army. I like the way that term, the way, and it's a spinoff from the movie Return of the King, because now is the time, it's the return of the goddess, the return of the gods. We're more than kings, we're more than queens. Kings and queens is a secular, small perspective of a planet, whereas a goddess that you are, a god that you are in alignment with our Atlantean lineage and saying we are masters of the universe. You're more than a king. You're more than a queen. You're more than an emperor. You're more than an empress. You're more than a prince. You're more than a princess. You're a god. You're a goddess. You're divine. And you are worthy to call upon the forces of nature. When I was in Hawaii, family, I would talk to Mother Ocean before I went in. And I would say, Mother Ocean, I love you. Is it safe and is it okay for me to enter your element? And when it was okay, family, a wave would come out of nowhere and wash over me. And I was on the island called Molokai. And the Hawaiian brother was laughing. I looked at you the way you was talking and the wave splashed you. He didn't understand, but that was all right. There was a brother named Ba'ai. He was a master fisherman, spear fishing. And every time I went in the water, before I went in, I would ask the water, may I enter your element? Now, I don't know what happened with our brother. What's his name? Malcolm Jamal, the famous actor from the TV series who allegedly drowned in Costa Rica from the rip tides. But what if he knew to follow ancestral protocol? What if he knew to ask the element of water? What if he knew to ask for the assistance of his angels and ancestors being in a foreign element? What would the outcome have been? What would be the outcome of you asking Archangel Michael to protect your nieces and nephews and sons and daughters? What if you would peel away doubt and fear and call on the forces of nature, of wind, of earth? What if you dared to live in the full, no holds barred application of angelic, ancestral, ascended master intervention upon our life, upon your life, and saying, yes, I am worthy to invoke, come hell or high water, my ancestral army? Because you got ancestors going back from the origins of time. What if you was to call upon your ancestral bloodlines who serve their highest desires for your success? What if you were to invoke angels and ancestors for healing whether you have tumors, cancers, fibroids, and ask for guidance in the selection of herbs, roots, and plants. What if you was to ask the plant kingdom to show you, to talk to you, to peel away the numbness of your mind, the numbness of your sensitivity, so you can hear nature's remedies? This is the workshops I want to do. I got to do a publication too, a workshop guide, and I want to do that for us, for you, so that you'll be able to do this and pass it on to your friends, your family, your loved ones, because quiet as it's kept, there's a social war happening against you, against me, against children of the sun. There's a war. In case your church, your mosque, your temple didn't tell you, they don't like us. It's like Michael Jackson's song. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They're wishing for a diabolical outcome. However, high frequency has dominion over low frequency. And being passive and just saying, well, the Lord works in mysterious ways. No, your immune system is very concise when you're healthy, strong, and able. Seek out and destroy the parasites. On a dream time level, high frequency has dominion over low frequency. So knowing how to use the correct forces of nature in crystals, the forces of nature in sacred herbs, such as ayahuasca, which is one of my favorites. Knowing how to invoke, again, ancestral assistance. You, every one of you, need security, protection in the times that we're in and beyond. It's not going to get any easier. Gold is up past $3,000 an ounce, when in 1971 it was $30. A car costs what a house used to cost. And the quality of the house nowadays, aluminum siding and prefabricated, getting higher price with lower value, especially with American-made products, with the exception of firearms. This country produces top shelf weapons. And you, on this ancestral land of ours, have the right to invoke our ancestral army that will rise out of the earth on the rays of love to assist you. But the cosmic law is ask and you will receive. Imagine your ancestors rising out of the soil. I'm broadcasting. Ancestors coming forth out of the earth. Ancestors from galactic origin coming from the sky to assist us in our daily challenges. Imagine the possibilities. I'm going to have to move my broadcast location. Hold on, y'all. Let me just move it to this other table. Got some chattering women behind me. Hold on one second. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. But just imagine if you knew that you could, and the way to invoke ancestors for protection, ancestors for prosperity. Imagine cultivating and developing lines so that you can have angels guide you in prosperity. Oh, the forces of nature, of crystals or veins of gold within the earth, call out to you and say, hey, I'm over here. Oh, come on over here. You can do that. It's called divination, using divining rods to be able to find where gold is, where silver is, without uh, having to search without an objective. The earth will call out to you by your name if you develop, sensitize, and realize I am worthy. That's the biggest thing, knowing you are worthy to receive the gifts of the heavens. You are worthy to receive the voices. Imagine if you was able to talk to your family members, your mothers, grandmothers, and fathers, grandfathers, and even in mate selection, give you clarity and divine direction. Say, hey, grandfathers, hey, grandmothers, is this soul for my highest good? And being able to know how to communicate with yes and no's so that you don't have to waste the most precious commodity in the universe. And that's your time, your youth, your short span of vitality here on this planet. This is what we're going to do more of. All right. You see, I have on solar activated crystals. They've been activated more than just sunshine. They've been activated with various light frequencies. This too will be shared in the future. How to awaken the sleeping forces within crystals to keep your blood circulation, your electrical potential maximized so you can fulfill your dreams and keep your charismatic thunderstorm within your cells in a happy space place. Let me check and see what's happening with my brother, see if he came on. All right, he's still working on it, family. Let me see what's happening in the comments. I want to post all of your acknowledgments. Let's see wherever you're listening from, post it in the comments. Rhonda Cooper, thank you for Rex, Georgia. All right. I want to acknowledge gratitude from Ottawa, Canada. Thank you for joining us. Um, Orlando, Florida. Thank you for being with us. 7 Ashe. Ra Moses from Tallahassee, Florida. Thank you for joining us, brother. Jeffrey Bay. He says he's on the new moon. I like that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for reminding us. Mama Love. Where's Mama Love? What'd she say? Where's Mama Love? Hold on, y'all. I'm using my phone, so bear with me a second. We got a bunch of comments. Hold on, Mama Love. Where'd you go, Mama Love? Oh, there you are, right there. Okay, Michelle Tolbert. Shout out from Texas. Thank you. Um, North Carolina, El Rayo. Thank you for joining us. All right. Divine DD, Buffalo, New York. Thank you for joining us. And New Jersey, families everywhere. We're having a soulful barbecue for the mind tonight. Show on stage, Virginia, Gwendolyn Davis. Thank you for joining. Family circle. Let me see if I can uh, try sideways. Oh, that's a little better. Um, Seeing the messages. Um, Barbara Mann, thank you for being with us. Virginia Beach. Okay. We got Jamaica in the house tonight. I wish we were in Jamaica now so all of us could be drinking coconut water as we listen to RaAkhu. Let's see. Philly is in the house. Welcome, Philly. Uh, Long Island, New York. We got a full house tonight. Let's see. Virginia Beach. Did I do Virginia Beach? I want to acknowledge Virginia Beach. Um, Texas is here. Come on, Raku. Fix that camera and get with us. Uh, Divine DD. Maybe we said Texas. Okay. Colorado Springs. Colorado. Peace and love. Papa Flan. Um, let's see where else. While we're waiting, I also want to remind everyone, take time to get grounded. When you have a chance, sometimes take off your shoes and plant your feet into the earth to get rid of any inflammation that's generated by computers, cell phones, electric lights. Memphis, Tennessee, glad you joined us. Uh, Take the time to take the toxic electricity out of your body. Hartford, Connecticut, glad you're with us tonight. Take the time to put your bare feet on the earth. If you can't put it on the earth, put it on even the cobblestones so that you can get rid of that electrical toxins that builds up in our bodies from cell phones and computers and electronics, the radiation from our remotes. We're in a electric fog, electric cloud, cell phone towers. We need to connect our feet to the earth, get rid of that electrical pollution. Oh, Mercury is retrograde. Thanks for sharing that. Right now, I said Mercury is retrograde. It's messing with communication, electronic devices. So if you're having problems, thank you, um, Jedi Tolbert. And we're definitely seeing a little challenge here. Um, Chicago, thank you for being with us. And here he is. Without further ado, family, give a warm welcome to brother. Welcome,
Peace, brother.
man.
I was having technical issues, man.
It's Mercury in retrograde.
Is it retrograde right now?
That's what somebody said in the comments, man. You got folks listening from
I
everywhere,
don't
brother.
Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year and it stays retrograde for 3 weeks every time it goes retrograde. That's 9 weeks out of every year. Okay, that's 63 days out of every year. These astrologers who claim that Mercury retrograde wreaks such havoc cannot show and prove 63 days of havoc in every fucking year.
Oh, you know what I gotta do? I gotta put your info up, family. Support
It's okay. I
our
put it up right there. Oh, they can't see it from right here?
no, send it to me and I'll copy it and run it as a banner on the bottom because we need to practice.
Want me to send it to your phone?
Or you can put it in the comments. Put it
Right
right in
here?
the comments. I'll copy it or put it in the private chat
I
and
got
I'll post it.
I got it.
Let me see.
It's coming. Give me a second. I suck at typing, so it takes a second.
Oh, donate. Here it is, right here. I see it. The ego select. Okay, hold
Mm-hmm.
on. I got it. Copy. Okay. Exit. All right. Let me create a banner, and we'll run this on the bottom because reciprocity and circulation is always a beautiful thing, family. You just
Aside from
don't want to
keeping
be.
motherfucking pockets, man.
You just don't want to have collect data. You know, we have a lot of data collectors
In
in
our
the
community,
so-called
conscious community.
conscious, subconscious community. There's a lot of data collectors. We want to have where you support. There it is, right there. You
Yeah.
support our brother. It says Mercury's in retrograde to August 11th, bro. What you got to
Mm-hmm.
say to that?
What I said the first time, usually people blame stuff on Mercury retrograde when it may be the moon aspecting their third ruler. So I don't really pay much attention to Mercury retrograde, man. Okay.
Okay.
I tracked it for years and it wasn't very fruitful for me, man.
Well, I was doing something to your computer tonight, brother.
Yeah, that's what you may believe. You believe that.
Maybe. I don't know.
See, Mercury has to be aspecting your planets when it's being disrupted. It has to be an aspect. It can't just be in retrograde.
Oh.
Because if that's the case, the whole world would be fucked every time it goes retrograde. And it's not, man. It's not that serious.
Oh. Okay.
You see? It's not
All
that.
right. Got you. I'm putting I'm putting I'm doubling it up. Okay, bro.
We on the air already?
Yeah, man, we've been on the air.
Okay.
Yeah. We're live. You got at least 100 folks right now listening to Uncle RaAkhu dropping it.
They came and listen.
They came
I
to listen,
I
brother.
ain't started dropping nothing yet.
They
other
came
than
to listen.
other than the retrograde, you know.
I'm gonna tell you now, the audience is 70% men and 30% women on average.
Hmm.
So just so that you know, I'm gonna shrink myself down so you can talk to the nation.
So we ain't got
Uh,
no interaction here. You just gonna give me the mic and let me run with it. Huh?
yeah, we don't have any cheerleaders for you tonight, brother. You're
Okay.
gonna shoot it straight, no chases, corner pocket.
Well, it's straight, no chases all the time anyway.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good. Uh, I'm using my phone. I'm just going to change the view layout. Here it is. I'm going to make it so that I become a mini man and you become the. There you go. Okay, you got the mic, brother.
Okay. Peace, everybody. Okay. My presentation today deals with the origin of everything, and I picked that title for a reason. I've been studying history and metaphysics and our history for quite some time. Okay. Long before my hair turned gray. And I've seen the movement take different forms and different directions, man, from a militant to a religious path to a philosophical one to a metaphysical one, man. And while I am deeply ingrained in the historic claim to this continent through our heritage, I am also interested in what has gone on on a global scale from time immemorial. Okay, I've been studying astrology for more than 30 years, more than 35 years now. Okay, really, quite a bit more than that. But at any rate, regardless how long I've been studying, I see a common symbolic theme in all of the world governments, no matter how old they are, no matter which continent, including the Americas, both of them, okay? Or all three of them, however you want to class that. America is both North and South America, really, right? So I did some anthropology work, and what keeps coming up to me is the dragon or the serpent. You see, the winged dragon or the feathered serpent. All right. And I know from studying signs and symbols that a feathered snake is a motif, hieroglyph for heaven and earth, because the feathers represent what gives the bird flight through what? The air. They're used for the flying in the air. They're used for indication of the sky. And the serpent is the closest admirable or fearful thing to the ground, right? And in my studies, I've come to realize that the oldest serpent worshippers on the face of this earth were the North American and South American people, okay? And that the oldest worship of trees occurred on this continent. So for a while, I was on the Pan-Africanist, anti-Pan-Africanist. I'm still on the anti-Pan-Africanist, but I don't want the focus of this to deal with nationality and lineage. I'm looking at a symbolic template that has been used by all people that established a monarchy from the very beginnings of written history and of a surety long before history was even written. When we look at the oral traditions of peoples globally, there's a central theme, a set of motifs that they all use and that they all named with different languages. But the setup, the structure of this hierarchy remains consistent from the Maya, the Inca, the Aztec, the Cahokians, to the Europeans, the Africans, and the Asiatics. From the Khmer Empire, the Slavic empire that fell under Ottoman rule, Dracula, okay, the Order of the Dragon. Now, this motif is taken directly from the northernmost hemisphere and the 7 constellations that are in the northernmost hemisphere. Now I'm going to break it down for you with regards to the symbols and their astrological significance on a political or governmental scale, as well as a religious motif, okay? And if you're looking at the numbers, you know, they say numbers don't lie. You find this hierarchy, the 1, then from 1 comes 7, or in the Mayan it's 4. 4 come from the 1, and 4 sets of gods, male and female. And in the Aztec is 4, and in the Egyptians, in the ancient Cometian stellar mythos, there were 4 sons of Heru, okay? And they were supposed to represent, according to these Western interpreters that don't really know astrological science like that, they said they're right about the fact that these 4 represent the foundation, the pillars of heaven, and that they are the cardinal directions. They are also the 4 elements, okay? So we see this 1 into 4, then it goes into 7. The 7 rishis, the 7 Urushu, the 7 wise ones, the 7 sisters, the 7 gods, the 7 Elohim, okay? All of these sevens everywhere, okay? And which modern scholarship, European scholarship, for the most part, attributes to Hermetic science. Now, if you understand Hermetic science, it is the philosophy of becoming a god, okay? And to put it shortly, it's the practice of making a god out of yourself, okay? And the numbers and the symbolisms that permeate, thank you, Olga Morano, all right? The numbers that permeate the scriptures, the numbers that permeate the folklore and the oral tradition, okay? These things are representative of the constellations in the northern hemisphere and their precessional motion, okay? And we need to take a minute to describe the celestial motion so you can see why such years were attributed to it and understand how this legacy lasted from the earliest recorded kingdoms that we have to the latest, okay? I would like to say the Khmer, Khmer Empire in Cambodia were the last to use it, but I have to give some kind of acknowledgement to the fact that the Europeans tried to pick it up too, okay? And don't forget, what I'm talking about here is the oldest world order known to us. You hear these phrases talking about the New World Order, okay? On the back of the American dollar, the forefathers of this country framed the same structure, the same symbolism, okay? And we're going to get into those symbols so that you can recognize them when you see them, all right? The North Pole was considered and is to this day by astronomers who put no mystical meaning on it. Strictly technological or technical considerations are given to it in Western astronomy. So, but the northern pole of heaven, the northern axis of the celestial heavens, okay, where right now Polaris sits like 7/10 of a degree from due, true, perfect north, okay? So Polaris is figuratively sitting on the most high throne. And there are 7 constellations that compose these, the map of the northernmost heavens. You see the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. You see Cephas. You see the Swan. Okay. You see Draco. All right. These constellations were held to be sacred by the ancients. Now, I mean, there's a million theories and opinions as to why the ancients used it. All right. And I'm going to give you mine, but I don't want you to give any serious weight to it because it's still in the process of forming. I might learn something next week that changes this. So, listen to the opinion, consider it with a rational mind and a philosophical overview, and do your comparison. But my opinion is unfinished. It's not done. My perspective on this is still growing. I still have a lot of evidence that I want to track down with regards to this entire scheme, okay? Because I'm going to reference the Bible because I can show parallels there easily. I don't have the names for all the different mystical schools that they gave these things, so I'm strictly going to stick with the symbols here, so that it's basic and understood at its most foundational level, without any serious complexities. I mean, I'm going to try to avoid any complexities or as many as I can. All right. Understand this structure. There are 7 constellations. It's like a dome. Okay. Flat earthers, we can use your dome for this. Okay. Imagine there being a dome over the earth or a glass bubble around the earth that we are using for the sake of establishing the positions of particular constellations and the movement and the measure of the movements of planets. Because I don't believe that we're under a dome. Okay. So, but that's another story. But imagine that. Because when we look up, we're looking from east up to the highest heaven, down to the west. And all around us we see that. So we can give it the shape of a dome and grant that to those who think that it's real, that it's really like that, then fine, we can still use it, right? So the very top center, like where the chandelier would be if you were under a dome, or where the axis of that dome, the dead center of that dome is the highest part of that dome, was considered by the ancients to be the seat of the Most High, okay? And around that throne are 7 constellations. Actually, each one of the constellations contribute a star every 3,700 or so years. Okay? Because the earth wobbles. Let me get into that. Let's get into the motion of the earth. Okay? Because whether you believe in flat earth or not, these motions of the heavens are consistent to both schools. Those people who believe in flat earth, those people who don't. Okay? If we're looking at the center of that dome from under it, right? Okay, let's say that this is the dome. We're looking at it. We're looking up at it. And from the side, it would look like that, right? Because a planisphere, I think that's what it's called, is a globe that they put the constellations on. So I'm wrapping that around the earth here, right? The center of it is the North Pole. And this is the seat of the Most High. Now, I'm not saying that that star is the Most High. That star, or any star that occupies its place in the heavens, is symbolic to the mode that the Most High is in with regards to creation. It gives us an indication of where the consciousness of humanity is going. All right? So there are actually 7 constellations that the earth wobbling, the pole, describes a great circle here. That circle actually is like a letter E, you know, and it's constantly shifting like this, the North Pole, okay? Each one of these swirls that you saw me draw is 25,920 years. Some people round it off to 26,000 years, okay? This system of keeping time, and why is it so important? Because today we use mechanical devices on a normal scale, and everybody can tell time. And back in the day, the telling of time was a sacred science. Okay, the ability to tell the seasons and read the motions of the stars has, for time immemorial, been the highest science exalted by humanity, regardless of which civilization you want to go to. The priesthood were the timekeepers. And the timekeepers were very important because they knew when it was time to plant. They knew when it was time to harvest. They understood the timing of the seasons. And keeping this knowledge was pertinent to the survival of people, because wintertime come and you haven't taken care of storing the food and growing it and making sure that you can survive the winter. People were dying. Winter was considered to be a curse. Winter was considered to be a terrible time. You see? Therefore, the keeping of time was essential to the survival not only of an individual, but the survival of the entire kingdom and the orderly run of the kingdom. So the timekeepers were elevated in status in every society, and it doesn't even matter which one. You see, this is why I didn't want to get into who was first and all of that, because see, this conflict is what's keeping us from coming together in the first place. They're from here, we're from here, we were here first, they were here first. We all have one oppressor while we busy fighting amongst each other. And what I see here, what I see that is key about this presentation, about the entire idea of it, is that this is not just used to establish kingdoms, it's used to rule over people, the symbolism of it, okay? And because it comes from the cosmic order, it resonates with people. I'll give you an example. You go into the courtroom, you don't have any knowledge of law. When they ask you your name, you're scared to death. You're scared they're gonna not let you go home. So you give them your name, you give them your address. You don't even realize that when they bring you into the courtroom, that's the beginning of the ritual, and the entire protocol, the entire process of the court is based on this exact same stellar symbolism. So the sun is in the, pardon me, the sun is not the center here. We're talking about the North Pole is in the center. And there are 7 constellations. And they say that there's the Most High, and after the Most High cometh 7 spirits to which actuate the world. Some people call them Elohim. Some people had other names for them, okay? But 7 was their number. 7 was their number in America, Africa, Asia, and Europe, okay? And after that 7 were the 12, okay? Which are the zodiac signs. I would like to pause here to say that the 12 followers of Horus, or the 12 fieldmen written or illustrated on his wall, are representative of the signs. There are all kinds of Jewish and Christian calendars from the very early ages of these 2 schools that they put the zodiac on the floor of their churches and synagogues, okay? Because the cosmic order comes from on high, literally. And it has gotten to the point where the symbolism has been taken literally. People really believe that there are 7 spirits and that there's a throne in the sky, okay? And that's cool if that's what you want to believe. I don't subscribe to it literally because I understand how it was derived from the positions and motions of the star in the northern hemisphere. Now, I said that every kingdom that ever existed on earth, I need to amend that, because it was those kingdoms in the northern hemisphere. We had the people of Peru and other people of South America, deeper in South America, they could not see the northern hemisphere. They can see the southern hemisphere below the equator. They can't see the North Pole star. So, you can't see the North Pole star from Chile. You can't see it from Peru. You can't see it from parts of Brazil. You can't see it from Australia. So these places south of the equator had no hierarchy or symbolic code for their kings and priests and their societies, because when you are on the other side of the equator, the south side of the equator, you can't see Polaris, okay? You can't see the North Pole at all right? So we know that all of these northern kingdoms use this symbolism and these numbers and the science that come from it. Okay. And like I said, the one that sits in here with these 7 is representative of the Most High. Okay. So in the Bible, they talk about Elion and then the Elohim. Okay. Elion or Elion. And they're talking about symbolically, astrotheologically speaking, the North Pole Star and the 7 constellations that officiate a seat there. Right. And for years, this was the stellar cult that is talked about by other astrotheologists and people who discuss this heavenly paradigm. Okay. Then after the 7 are the 12. The 12 disciples, the 12 followers of Horus, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. And these 12 were a later addition. The zodiac was added later. So for many years, I'm going to put this in a more 3D illustration for you. For many years, for thousands, and I would like to say tens of thousands of years, there was but the stellar cult, and the zodiacal cult hadn't developed or hadn't become apparent or gained enough sway in the world to leave artifacts all over the place. The oldest artifacts we find point to the 7 of that symbolism. Now, what I need you to understand is this motion of the earth called precession. Okay? These poles are imaginary. North Pole, South Pole. And they are tilted at 23.5, approximately 23.5 degrees from the ecliptic pole. Okay, the ecliptic pole would match the poles of the sun. Okay, so this is ecliptic north. And this is ecliptic south. And the plane of orbit that the Earth is on is called the ecliptic, this line. It's like if the Earth was a bobbin that you go fishing with, like it's a bobbin. And instead of standing straight up in the water, it's kind of leaned to the side. Okay. So while it leans to the side, the equator is here. All right. Now, over a period of 25,920 years, this North Pole describes a circle in the heavens, and this one here describes a circle in the heavens. That circle is called the volute. What that circle does is give us a view of the northern hemisphere that I had up here earlier. Okay. The ancients took this motion here very seriously. It has been to date excluded from the astrological considerations. The average astrologer you run into today knows nothing of the astrology regarding the 7 constellations. And if you understood what I said earlier, I'm going to repeat it now, that this long count, this long 25,920 year cycle was recognized by all of the peoples, because we find it. You can read a book called Hamlet's Mill, okay, written by Santillana, all right? And he shows how this number is found symbolically and plainly in monuments all over the planet. I mean, everywhere around the entire 360 degrees of the equator, okay? It is found. And there are monuments on the ancient equator dedicated to the constellations we find in the north as well, okay? So, understanding now, while this 25,000 year age is measurable with the, can you still see this? Can you see this? Let me see if I got a better pen. While it's measurable using the 7 pole stars, each one of them takes a turn crossing the dead center, okay? And actually, there are only 6 pole stars, all right? One of the constellations there doesn't have any stars that actually get close enough to due north. So at that time, man was using the Swan, which is a constellation represented as a bird by all cultures. It wasn't always a swan, though. Okay, they use different birds, but this is a flying creature. Let's put it that way. Everybody used a flying creature as the symbol for this age, as a symbol for this age. And the Bible references it because there was no pole star. That place, that form that they gave to the heavens was void of a pole star, void of light. That place was considered an ocean, the Nu in Egypt, and you, right? They're like an ocean of space. So when the Bible says that the Spirit hovered over the face of the deep, they are referencing astrotheologically the constellation of the Swan that was over the dark area where the pole stars normally reside, or where they are known to have resided. Okay, so that bird constellation is symbolic to the spirit that moved over the face of the waters. And the key word water here is to give an allusion to the zodiacal age of Cancer, because Cancer represents water and great bodies of water, all right, in classical astrology. So during the age of Cancer, there was no pole star. All there was in the north were the 7 constellations, but there was no star sitting on that sea. So my interpretation of the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters was about that light, okay, that is there, or the absence thereof. As time went on, 3,000 and a half centuries, 3,000 years, or 3.5 centuries, no, 3,500 years passed, about 35 to 3,800 years passed, and the constellation of the dragon takes form around the pole. Let this square, let this X be the pole star. And the constellation of Draconis started to wrap around the pole. And it took that position around 3000 BC, okay? Right before 3000 BC, all right? And Thuban, it's the pole star in it, had yet to come to the center, but the dragon itself was wrapped around the pole and considered to be a guardian of the pole. Okay, he's a keeper of time and a destroyer of it, because as that calendar that is fashioned off of this motion winds, it is dying. So the dragon is killing the time as well as maintaining it, right? And the dragon they're talking about is Draconis. Now, these things seem to appear to move, the stars appear to move southwest when you're looking up there. They appear to move this way because the earth in its wobble is going in a counterclockwise motion, right? Well, the northern heavens appear to be revolving clockwise, counterclockwise. So the earth is turning clockwise when you look to the north. And the northern sky is turning counterclockwise. So when you look at the temple, the ceiling at Dendera, all the deacons are walking around the edge, and they are all walking in counterclockwise fashion to let you know that this model of the heavens that they set up in this temple during the Ptolemaic period was supposed to point to what was going on in the northern hemisphere, and the fact that it goes counterclockwise is what allows you to know that it's the northern sky. Because as an astronomer or as an astrologer, we know that to see the path of the sun, we need to look to the south. and to see the northern pole stars. These pole stars are special, more special than the 12 zodiac signs, not because of their astrological indications, but as a time marker. And their symbols represent what went on in the record that man has of them. Okay? So when they talk about the Spirit of God moves across the face of the waters, this is where the Bible begins its narrative of the creation. But when you study the calendars of the Yoruba and other African calendars, all of these calendars were founded and established after the Great Flood, after the Great Water, or after the ancestors traveled over a great body of water. Okay? So this great body of water is because literally there were floods all over the world. There still are to this day. Okay, and to ancient man, a flood was a terrible thing because there was no way to see it coming. Okay, there was no way to predict a flood. Like we could predict the sunrise, but who knows when some great iceberg is going to melt and create a swell of water that's going to increase that was not anticipated because they did not know that the ice was causing the oceans to swell up. All they knew was that water was being overflowing. So this is a universal motif. This universal motif is applied to the beginning of creation because this is when man came out of the ice age. Man came out of a very primitive state. Man came out of a very perilous situation. Okay, so all of the traditions talk about there being water everywhere, whether by flood or whether by the ideology that the earth was covered with water before the land rose out of it. Okay, and all people's mythology begins with that water. And I agree that scientifically and biologically, life starts in water. Ancient man understood that. But when we look at the geological history of the world, we see that this is incorporated into the folklore. All right, the catastrophes that occur were spoken of by a priest named Berosus, who was speaking to Solon, who was Herodotus's grandfather. Okay, and Herodotus is the one who told us about Atlantis and told us about this great epic of time. He said the sun rose in the west besides the east, where he is said to rise at least twice in the south and north. See, that's if you can conceptualize, right? How can the sun rise in the north? Because the earth itself is turning. Right now, it's at 23.5 degrees. At one time, it laid down. The North Pole and the South Pole were laying down, and the earth was revolving this way. You see? And this continues. This is a 2,592,000 year cycle. I need a better marker. So 2,592,000 year cycle. Okay? Is 100 precessions, 100 letter E's. Each one of them 3 degrees, 0.6 degrees further. That thing spins around like this here. Okay? This would be the only scientific phenomenon that can ever occur that would allow the sun to rise in the west, the east, or the south. The poles of the earth would have to be shifted. And since the Egyptians told Solon of these things, and Solon recorded them, we know that they had a grand cycle like this for real. And we know that they took the poles into very serious consideration because it's a very convenient means of measuring great epochs of time. And before man slipped to his lower nature on a collective level, we were living high on the land. We were in the golden age. We were closer to our divine selves. The Hindus talk about this. The Vikings talk about this. The Romans, the Greeks, and they got it from the original people that they came in contact with. The Africans, the Americans, and the Asians all talk about this cycle. And what gets me is for years, I accepted the idea that, like the 100 monkey theory, okay? And what I mean by that is I could think of something right here in North America. And because I'm drawing from the Akashic record, somebody in Asia could be drawing from the same energy. I used to subscribe to that idea. But the consistency of the symbolism that they use, I mean, every single system, every single government was using the sequence of numbers 1, 7, 12, okay? Using that symbolism, using the serpent or the dragon, okay? Flying dragon. You got a winged snake in Egypt. You got a serpent, a flying serpent all over the Americas, longer even before it was in Africa and Egypt in the old world, okay? They were worshiping snakes and trees over here, y'all. The men and women of North America deified the serpent and the tree. So picture a man and a woman in front of a tree with a snake. And what does that remind you of? And see, this is before, these are thousands, tens of thousands of years before the Bible was even conceived of. Okay? So, and then you got archaeological science talking about North America, the archaeoastronomy, the monuments that were built here are all astronomically aligned. Archaeoastronomy is what it's called. They're all geometric. The most difficult geometric tasks that can be accomplished. For example, squaring the circle. Okay, we have monuments here in America that are older than the pyramids, older than anything they got in Asia. There are circles and squares and octagons and two squares interlocked to make the octagon with a circle drawn in it. We have mounds and effigies, cave paintings, and artifacts over here that show and prove that we were building according to the heavens on earth. Okay? When people say Anunnaki, I mean, people are really looking for human beings or humanoid shaped huge people. Okay? Anu is heaven. Ki is the earth. Anunnaki is the descendant of heaven and earth. Okay? Which is all people. We are all descendants of heaven and earth. We are the children of sky and land. Okay? So when, you know, they want to gas it up, I believe that the Anunnaki were the people that lived here on this planet before it took the form that it takes now. Okay, when Egyptians talk about the Zep Tepi, I'm thinking that's 39,000 years ago, in the first before the last age of Leo. Okay, and they reached civilizational heights here that are insane. We have a wall in North America that is perfectly north and south, and every brick is more than 10 tons. Okay, and the people that the archaeologists interviewed said that they didn't build it. The Native Americans that they found camped out there, the red-skinned Mongol migrants from Mongolia, they said that this stuff was here when they came here. Okay, so there's evidence of people being here, building this great wall, perfect 90-degree angles, perfectly built north and south. Okay, now, while modern Western, particularly American historians are trying to say that's a natural formation, the rocks don't repetitiously, 100 of them all line up perfectly all the same size. That doesn't happen naturally. Nature doesn't make perfect cubes out of stone. Okay, they make perfect cubes out of crystals. You can see almost perfect cube when you look at salt under a microscope, but you're not going to see the earth busting up into perfect geometric 90-degree angles. Okay, and they have a quarry. This is here in America. This isn't even spoken about. Okay, these bricks are 5 times heavier than any one of them bricks did they use to case the pyramid? Where each one of them were 2 tons. These are 10-ton bricks, and they blow it off like it ain't a wall, it's a natural formation, because they would have to enlighten us to the fact that we were here. Okay, so the symbolism of the Northern Hemisphere is replete throughout North and South America, like they were all one people at one time, because they all have the similar oral tradition. Okay, after the age of Cancer, which is the flood period, right, symbolically or historically, which would be between 9,347 BC and 7,187 BC. This is the age of Cancer. Okay, now all of the gods in West Africa that talk about water, the water gods or the water deities, or the the creatures, the divine creatures that come out of the water, all right, that are not human or whatever, all right. They use water to let you know what age they're pointing to. Okay, the Yoruba calendar goes back to 8,000 BC. That is the age of Cancer. Okay, and Cancer is the water sign, and Cancer represents great bodies of water in classical astrology. And I believe that it always has. And I believe that the science of astrology precedes any government, any religion, any science you got. Okay, because it's about keeping time in the beginning. And time was essential. We had to know when it was going to snow, when it was time to hunt, when the buffalo would come, or when the migrating herds, wherever they were on the planet. Well, we needed to be able to time this and put it into a calendar effectively. And the heavens is what we use to do that. Now, over time, that people get corrupted. Life gets easy. You begin to think big of yourself. Okay. And if not as an individual, that collectively man is like this. This is human nature. Okay. Stuff starts to get easy for us. We start warring amongst each other. It becomes, it moves from having to survive the weather, because now we got a calendar, and then we can take shelter at certain times of the year and then come back out. We can plant at certain times of the year and create enough food for ourselves, and we know what time to shuck it and what time to store it. So now we can survive as a society, and other societies sprang up. Okay, and people like to dominate each other, so war ensues. Okay, the whole time the priesthood is doing their thing, calculating the stars, creating the stories that go to it, giving it to the public in the form of religion. So instead of saying that all of the stars in heaven revolve around one star, they say that star is the seat of the Most High. Instead of saying there are 7 constellations that they use to primarily measure the supremest age system, they say there are 7 about the throne of the Most High. Okay? And then they talk about the 4 directions, or the 4 sons of Heru, or the 4 Tuamutev, Kebsanut, and I forget the other 2 names. Okay, pardon, I don't remember them all. All right. These 4 represented the foundation of the earth. This is north, south, east, and west. It also took on colors. See, the universality of this symbolism that I'm breaking down to you, it was a global thing. It was a world order. Just like if the world today was destroyed or went into cataclysmic state, and societies all over the world were disrupted, and public places and not regularly used places become overgrown, somebody come along in a few centuries after that and find all kinds of computers everywhere. Okay. Now, they may not understand our culture and our religion, because all of the paper and all of the information that was on the computers has degraded. And so they have very few fragments, just like we do, to put things back together. They're going to think that there was some great universal electronic cult on this planet. Okay? Because everybody's using electricity. Everybody's trying to electrify their cities. I mean, this is the goal of every third world country, to develop them metropolises and cities and places of commerce. and to generate wealth, okay? And to exploit the land for its natural resources to create more stuff to sell, all right? So instead of striving to survive, and that being the main motif for the power structure, you became king. I saw a brother on YouTube yesterday. We know the truth now. He said something that was very key. He said, you didn't become king because you had gold. You didn't become king because you was the mightiest warrior. You became king because you fed the people. You were able to feed them. They made you king. Okay? And the development of corn. We was growing corn on this planet. All the deities of resurrection are all corn gods. You see? So this culture spread all over this planet. And when they want to say there was no corn in Asia before Columbus, because I know some academic heads are going to be watching this, we got cobs of corn and in statues in India thousands of years before Columbus. And we got the custard apple in sculptures in Asia. We got cocoa and rubber in Africa. Okay, Columbus didn't take rubber to the old world, y'all. Rubber had been here, and that shit come from America. Horses come from there. So that culture, the idea of the 7 rulers, the North Pole star representing the Most High God, and the 12 signs representing the nation, is older than civilization itself, because the very first civilization employed this wisdom. There would be no civilization without a tracking of the stars. There would be no record-keeping list of kings for thousands and thousands of years, and to be able to reference it accurately, because even to this day, while everyone else is using electronics, you notice that the British have not abandoned their observatories. The United States Naval Department has an observatory in Washington, D.C., by which they use to determine the real time. Okay? So this science is still very much alive. You know, you can't even go to a regular bookstore and buy an astronomy book that will break all of this down, because it is still held sacred. It is still downplayed when made public. It is still looked at as superstition by the powers that be, or still spoken of as superstition by the powers that be. Because quiet is kept, the powers that be are using this very template to this day. Okay? Now they turned the positions of the stars and their descent from the arc of heaven into a hierarchy. Okay? After the dove, the constellation of Hercules, which is also one of those 7, okay, started to move towards the northern pole star, okay? And looking at the heavens, Hercules appears to be moving southerly in his trajectory from our vantage point on Earth, okay? And Hercules is an image of a man. So the fact that he's moving south is simply the fall of man. Okay? And Hercules' foot rests right next to the serpent's head, to the head of Draco. So when they said that the serpent bruised his heel, they're talking astrotheologically here. Okay? Now this stretches back more than 6,000 years. Okay? After the age of Cancer, we get into the age of Gemini. Gemini were the heavenly twins, the heavenly brothers, the divine hero twins. Okay? And there are, if it weren't twins, it was pairs of gods. Okay? Twos and twos of gods. Okay? And the twos and twos is symbolic to the sign of Gemini, which even to the ancients, Americans and Asians, long before the Greeks and the Babylonians, man, we reference those 2 stars as twins. Okay, they were brothers. And all of the folklore from Alaska to the most southern part of Chile, all right, and in Japan and in China and India, the duality. So this is the age of Gemini. So Gemini becomes the motif or the costume of the age, and therefore all of the lore, all of the oral tradition talk about the brothers, and these brothers are always defeating a giant, and see, those who know astrology understand where that's going immediately. It is those anthropologists, scientists, and religious heads who have no knowledge of the astronomical symbolism and the astrological science that refute the idea that this is what that represents, when it is right there, plain as day, to be seen if you can but convert conceptually pictures into schemata. Okay? The North Pole of the Earth was looked at as the world tree, the great tree, by the Americans, by some Asiatics, by some Europeans. Okay? And according to modern academia, now you know I don't agree with this, there was no contact between continents, intercontinental, transatlantic, trans-Pacific travel, according to these Europeans, man. They liars, okay? We got Roman, Babylonian, Phoenician artifacts found in America, okay? We have the language of the Maya permeating Hindu, permeating several African tongues. And, people are going to feel sore about me saying this. But, the word for corn in Egypt is identical to the word for corn in South America. They call it maize or maíz in Egypt. Okay? So we know that they got where they got their corn. We know that with the corn came the knowledge of building and technology and farming and agriculture. And that all of these kingdoms sprouted up out of nowhere. They say in Samaria, just out of nowhere, no signs of development. The pyramids in Egypt, out of nowhere, with no signs of development, yet they came forth with a template, a governing template that was a mirror of the heavens. Okay? When, during the age of Gemini, the two brothers, you find the folklore all over the earth about the pairs of the twins, especially North America. Okay? Now, I want to show you this zodiacal wheel. The opposition between Gemini and Sagittarius, because that is very pertinent to the mythology, to the oral tradition. Okay? In South America, the hero twins, okay, similar to Gemini, I'm going to use that, all right? They are in opposition to Sagittarius. Now, astrologically speaking, Gemini are the brothers. Gemini is the sign of brothers. Okay? Some traditions they were twins. Other tradition they were pairs of deities. Okay? But they're double. And this is what Gemini represents, duality. What's the number 2, astrologically speaking? The sign of zodiac. The sign of Gemini. Okay? But it is in opposition to the sign of Sagittarius. If you know the story from the Popol Vuh, the South American ancient Bible, all of their lore and their creation mythology is in it, and the symbols are identical globally. Okay? The opposition of Gemini and Sagittarius. Do you know that Sagittarius is the sign of giants? It means gigantic. Anything that is huge, that is colossal, that is abundant, that is tall or wide or far is Sagittarius. Okay? So it represents giants. In the North American tradition, the hero twins fought all kinds of monsters and giants. Sagittarius also represents something else on a human level, a very human level. Okay? Sagittarius and the 9th place and its ruler, Jupiter, points to the father, or a guiding elder. So throughout all of the mythology and all of the oral tradition of North and South America with regard to the hero twins, they're fighting monsters and giants. In South America, they want to resurrect their father. They want to go into the underworld and resurrect their daddy. Okay? What's very deep about this motif astrologically is that precessionally, let me go this way, diurnally, every day of your natural life, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. But precessionally, it spins it wobbles in the opposite direction that it spins in. Okay? So precessionally, Sagittarius is coming up out of the earth in the west. And Gemini is going down into the underworld. And what did the hero twins do? They went down into the underworld to be tested by the gods who tried to undo them. And it was all in the name of trying to save their father who had gone into the underworld, trying to bring him back. Okay? Well, this is the same as Horus and Set. The original Heru and Set story was about them too. It didn't originally include Osiris. These were the two struggling brothers, okay? So even in Egypt, they had the story of the two brothers, all right? This is Cain and Abel for you Bible heads, okay? And it is not limited to your Bible, okay? So while you say, oh, no, you're trying to twist what the Bible means and all that, these mystical, metaphysical, religious, ritual traditions existed thousands of years before Abraham. Okay? So, and chill on that. I'm going to show you somewhere in the Bible too where it gives a straight reference to how the sacrifices that the Hebrews were doing were to purify the alignments in the heavens. So, and that was just said because the thought came to me when people say, man, there's nothing in the Bible or the Quran or any of them religious books that advocates or condones the uses of celestial science. You're wrong. I will make you eat your words, okay? I'll make you read it to me, okay? You can read it yourself, okay? And I don't care how many verses you go before it, how many verses you're not going to be able to change the context of that because it says celestial alignments where you were purified by sacrifices. So, and when that was spoken of, it wasn't talking in the negative. And if you look at the origins of these, they started off when Judaism first started, nigga, it was constant sacrifices being made. You see, they don't do this anymore, but this was the foundations upon which this was built. And sacrificing animals became, to propitiate the gods, is a global phenomenon. It's not limited to the Middle Eastern cultures that produce the major world religions that we experience today. Okay? This phenomenon is global. So they want to resurrect their father so that he can rise again. Well, then naturally, they would be through this mythology, right? When it was not the brothers in China, it was a pair of gods. In Japan, it was a male and a female god that dipped a spearhead into the water and made Japan, okay? Either way it goes, you got the divine pair striving to overcome insurmountable odds to improve their condition. This template is global. So whether you find it and want to claim that it was in America first, or claim that it was in Africa first, or claim that it was in Asia first, it was ubiquitous. It was as ubiquitous as a light bulb. And where can you go on the earth? There's only a few places on the earth you can go where don't nobody know what the fuck a light bulb is, man. This is ubiquitous.
This sounds like RaAkhu. It sounds like you talking about we now living in the dark ages, the stone ages, and the times you talking about sound like it was at one time the golden age where the whole planet was unified. Is
Well,
that somewhat what you saying?
I don't know if the whole planet was unified. I know that the whole planet was using one doctrine. You see, I don't have proof. So I'm not going to say that. Do I think that? Fuck yeah. I think it like a motherfucker. Okay. So if that answers your question, but do I have any academic proof? No, because all of this is prehistoric. All we have is the symbolism. And we find that symbolism on every single continent, wherever they had a monarchy or an empire. Okay. For as far back as you want to go, no one can deny this. Okay. And even to the empire of Khmer. When y'all know about Angkor Wat, it's a structure carved out of a solid mountain. Okay, it's a central tower that represents the pole, the northern region of heaven, with 4 towers that represent the foundations of heaven. And there are 72 main temples there. What's deep is the Angkor Wat is situated on the planet Earth almost exactly, not precisely, but less than 50 miles, less than 100 miles, let me say. Okay, let me give myself some room. Less than 100 miles from being exactly 72 degrees from the Great Pyramid. Okay, there are 72 buildings there, and it is situated 72 degrees from the Grand Pyramid in Giza. Okay, and it sits on the same line, the same ancient equator, from Angkor Wat to Baalbek to the Osirian to the Great Pyramid, over Dogon land, over the Nazca lines to Easter Island, back to Angkor Wat is the ancient equator. And it's an equator that sits 30 degrees from where our current equator sits. The North Pole then was in a place that is called today North Pole, Alaska, okay, which is 60 degrees from where the pole is situated now. It's exactly 60 degrees, okay? And using this precessional polar day formula, 60 degrees is 4,200 or 4,320 years. Okay, that number 432 is a geometric constant. And when you look at this time period, you see how the knowledge passed from kingdom to kingdom, empire to empire. Even I forget this Caucasian's name. This guy talks a lot of astrotheology too. He talks about there being 4 major cults, 7 cults altogether.
Was it Stitching?
No, we ain't talking about Stitching. I don't use him as a source because he's bug juice. I'm using a very sane dude, man. This dude talks sovereignty. He got a big nose. He's going bald on top. I forget his name right now. Like, y'all know him. Y'all know this cat. He's real popular. But anyway, he talks about there being 7 cults, and I'm feeling that he's using his astrological knowledge to create those categories himself. But they're not inaccurate. So what
is this the person right here?
I can't see your screen, God.
Santos.
No, it ain't Santos. The other guy, man. The guy that wears the glasses and he's chubby now. And man, please. See his
Brother
name?
Sanchez?
No, man. The cat is a white man, first of all.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So he's not Italian. He's an Anglo-Saxon or a German, really. Okay. Y'all know who he is. They put him on Facebook because he talks about astrotheology and sovereignty and all that other stuff. Okay. I just can't figure out his name right now, man. Jesus Christ, man. The dude is so chubby, his neck he got a double chin. You can barely see his neck, man. Okay.
You got folks dropping all names: Alex Haley, Jordan Maxwell.
Jordan Maxwell. There you go. There you go. Somebody heard me out there. Jordan Maxwell. So he said something. I'm using him not because of his nationality or anything, but because of the sense that he made. He said there was a stellar cult. And it's true. There was a cult that used the Northern Hemisphere. When we look at the rituals in Islam, the Kaaba, okay, the circumambulation of the Kaaba 7 times in a counterclockwise fashion is symbolic to the North Pole stars. The 7 constellations are symbolic to the 7 ambulations that they make around it. The fact that the box is square and black, that is a very dark region when there's no pole star in it. Okay, and you have to understand some things here. I make a connection between what they calling the old world and the new world, far beyond what I've been looking at in terms of history and anthropology and artifactual evidence from the brothers that are doing it. I love them all too. I like all that stuff. But what I'm trying to say is the tradition is global. Where personally I believe it may have originated in America, because I'm thinking civilization in Egypt is relatively new compared to the civilizations that have actually been on this earth. See?
You're right.
You see, well, some people disagree, man. You know,
No,
so,
you're right.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that Egypt was a recent development, man.
Egypt, according to Edgar Casey, was an outpost of Atlantis before Atlantis went underwater, and now we in the dark ages after Atlantis sunk.
Edgar Casey got that shit from Herodotus. Herodotus got it from Salon. Salon got it from Berosus. Berosus got it from the College of Priests. Okay, it was common knowledge amongst the Egyptians that Egypt, Sumeria, and all of the places where you see monuments all over this planet were outposts of Atlantis.
Because there's an underwater city that was mapped between Cuba and Florida Keys, but yes, it's so upsetting.
There's another one.
Yep.
Okay? There's another one 5 miles off the coast of New Orleans, which I believe was 2 cities that did commerce with one another. Listen, man, please. You find jade objects in artifactual jade objects from the Mohawk and the Iroquois in New York. Now, I want to know who the fuck was bringing that jade to them. Jade comes from South America. We don't have any in New York, any jade. You dig what I'm saying? So that's proof right there that there was commerce. Christopher Columbus said that he met 2 Indians from America in 1477. 5 years before he got Isabella and Ferdinand to fund his trip over here. Okay? And that these Indians, in his memoirs, he said these Indians had 2 boats that they attached and built a house on top of the 2 boats. And that on their boat, they had artifacts from Africa all the way up to Spain, Italy. So they went up the coast of Africa trading, on into the Mediterranean, on out of the Mediterranean to England, on to Iceland, and back down the coast of North America, back all the way. And so he knew where he was coming, all right? But these people were maritime people. They had a college in Costa Rica that has gigantic sphere balls that weigh more than a ton, okay? Stone balls. And they are perfect spheres. And there are markings on them that resemble the distance from South America to England, okay? Now, I really wanted to work on them 2 Indians traveling because, what's his name, man? Plongeon. What is his first name? His last name is Le Plongeon. L-E space Plongeon. All right? I can't remember his first name right now. But this dude was a linguist. He had a doctorate in language, man. He compared the languages all over the world and found that they, like the word Maya is ubiquitous. Okay? But that has American origins. The word Atlantis, Atl, okay? The root, A-T-L, is American. You find it in India and in the Middle East. And what's deep here, I used to study Islam. I used to practice Islam. So I would study my Quran very hard, right? And I remember a story in the Quran. It never set right with me. And it was this story that contributed to me exploring other spiritual systems too, outside of Islam, okay? What it said was that there, when I'm paraphrasing this text, this scripture here, right? That the Most High, that Allah turned these people into monkeys, okay? And I always felt that that was symbolic, that they discovered some civilized or some recording people encountered some people that were living in the trees and living, not to the level of civilization that they were, and that they used the word monkey to describe them, because the Mahabharata does the same thing for the Sri Lankans and calls them the people of the Monkey King.
Yeah, the
Okay?
Monkey King.
Right, but we know we're talking about black brothers and sisters here, and this is why they reference them as such. Okay, but at any rate, they said that the Quran says that Allah turned them into monkeys for their misdeeds. All right, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting. All right, wouldn't make a difference anyway. You get the point. So now the Popol Vuh, which is the Mayan codex, the Mayan text, talks about how the gods turned men into monkeys. Okay, that he made men out of wood and that he turned them into monkeys. And I said to myself, damn, that's crazy. That the people of Maya had a single supreme God that they called Hu. Okay? And Plongeon writes it in his book, HU. But when we see that they had Proto-Semitic language over here in the United States, I mean, in the New World, right? And they have a more refined version over there. They call it Proto over here because they know people don't understand. The first Hebrew, the oldest Hebrew text in the world are found in the Americas. Okay? Proto-Hebrew. Proto-Sumerian, they call it. All right? So if it's Proto-Hebrew or Sumerian, then how did it get all over the world? Okay? Whether they came over here and took it back over there, or whether the Americans came over there. See, I'm not here to argue that, regardless of what my beliefs are. What I'm here to show forth and prove is a doctrine of governance, and militarily, governingly, administratively, and religiously. Okay? This template was used to rule over the people. All right? So, like I said earlier, you have the 7 Elohim, you have the 7 Urshu in Egypt, the 7 Rishi in India, the Council of 7 in other places in Asia. Like I'm gonna scream on you, man. You pressed me to come before I finished everything.
Yeah, do it, brother.
But
drop it like it's hot.
The thing is, it's going to take me 10 years to finish this project for real.
Well, let's do this is part one.
This is part one, right. So I conceded to do part one. So when you see the similarity of their symbols from the monarchy to the priesthood to the government, the Congress, the representative, and the judges, this whole thing comes from the celestial hierarchy. And this is what I meant when I said the origin of everything, okay? The origin of your religion, I don't care what it is celestial science. The origin, man didn't always worship the sky. Man worshiped the earth first. You see a lot of descriptions of Yahweh or Jehovah that resemble a volcano. Fire and brimstone coming up out there, thunder and lightning. This happens when a volcano erupts, man. Okay? And there were volcano cults all throughout all these geographic areas, even in the Americas. The civilizations under lava in America that they have yet to dig out, while people are busy screaming about the 108,000-year-old structure they found in Zimbabwe, the Adams calendar, and the pyramids. We have structures all over the planet, okay? And they all share architectural features that relate to these numbers here. But let me go back to this, okay? You have to understand that the symbolism of this sky picture here, okay? If you understand how the daylight hours get longer in the summer and shorter in the winter, then you will understand how on the first day of Gemini, when the sun is in Gemini, any day of the year, okay, there are going to be 7 signs in the northern hemisphere, 7 zodiac signs. And there are going to be 5 zodiac signs on the bottom. Okay? This is in reference to the zodiac now. Let me let y'all know, let me give you due notice and bring you up to speed that I'm not using the 7 constellations in the northern hemisphere now. I am now using the zodiac belt. Okay? And I'm going to tell you how they made that jump. I can't say exactly when because it came before recorded history. Okay? But we
You know who you remind me of, man?
who?
A science officer on a spaceship that crashed and all his hard drive memory was destroyed, and they trying to figure out how to get back to home base.
Well, that's
this is movie material, man.
Listen, man. See, I don't want to make no movies. I want to decode the illusion so people can see it for what it is and get back to pursuing godhood again, as opposed to submitting themselves to some imaginary bullshit.
You know what? In just what you just said, I'm coming on just for a second. Hold on a second. Let me throw my camera on here. You making me think about ancient India, Kemet, ancient Americas.
Yes, sir.
They all show the divine being humans of various types instead of some external.
Sometimes they use animals too.
Okay, but it always seems like
the dog-headed. You have the Temple of the 7 Jackals, man. Okay, this is part of the stellar cult, part of the northern hemisphere paradigm, which is much older than the zodiac paradigm. The zodiac paradigm came in effect during the age of what was 2,900? During the age of Taurus. Okay. During the age of Taurus, they refined the zodiac into the form that it is now. Because before then, it was 7 signs and 10 signs of the zodiac. It didn't become 12 until like 26,000, 3,000 BC. Okay. When the dragon took its position around the pole. Now, the Bible refers to the dragon twice. The serpent in the Garden of Eden and the dragon at the end of the book. These are the serpent that builds time and the serpent that destroys time. The guardian of the pole, okay? In the Revelation, they said that the tail of a serpent swept away 1/3 of the stars in heaven. Y'all familiar with this verse in Revelations, right? The constellation of Draco, when Thuban is one of the stars of Draco was the North Pole star. Draco occupied 120 degrees around the pole. Okay? The heavens are measured in their totality within the arc of 360 degrees. And all the stars in the universe fit into that 360 degree schematic. So Draco wrapping itself around the pole 120 degrees is symbolic to the constellation of Draco occupying 1/3 of the heavenly sphere. So the serpent in the sky, the serpent that takes the stars of heaven, we're talking about celestial phenomena here. I hope y'all are not believing in a gigantic anaconda, you know, that has wings, you know, flapping and flying through the air. I hope you don't believe that they believed in that. Because all of their stuff was stellar, all right? Now, they had a mystery system, initiation system, all right, in ancient Maya. And that ancient system depicted this paradigm. You had the lords of death, and you had the trials that they had to go through, the 5 trials that they went through. Now, why is it 5 and 7 and not 6 and 6? Because 6 and 6 only occurs on the first day of spring and on the first day of autumn. On the first day of winter, there are 5 in sight, or we can see 152 to 155 degrees of the zodiac, depending on where you are on the planet Earth, really, right? And where they were, you can see 5 in the winter the first day of winter solstice, and you can see 7 on the bottom. Okay, those 5 are the 5 Anunnakis of winter. They were considered the terrible winter months. Okay, from October to February in our terms. Okay, from Scorpio to Pisces, those 5 was considered the course of winter. And ancient man dreaded these and looked at them as monsters, insurmountable monsters, these storms and these blizzards and the freezing cold. Okay, and the beings of light, who are the 7 Anunnaki in the Hebrew tradition, okay, where the zodiac sign you can see above the ground. Because there are more daylight hours, we can see more of the ecliptic in the summertime when the sun is in Gemini. You understand it? Okay? Each one of the rooms, the trials that they went through, is symbolic of the 5 houses that are down here on the first day of summer. All right? So this heavenly template has survived to us to this day in the form of Masonic ritual. The Masons of now claim that America was Atlantis and that this knowledge was the knowledge of Atlantis. What I really believe is that Atlantis is where they found it, in the Gulf of Mexico, and that it stretched to those islands because those islands were land. All of that shit was land, mountains and valley at one time. And the ancient Americans have an oral tradition about that body of water flooding, okay? And you got modern enthusiasts that, and I agree to some extent until I'm shown something that will absolutely refute it, that the flooding or the filling of the Gulf of Mexico was really Noah's Ark. That is the flood from which Noah's Ark comes, okay?
You remind me of the book When Rocks Cry Out.
Okay, now I read that book, all right? My problem with that, I love that book, okay? It woke me up to a lot of things. It woke me up to a lot of truths, all right? But one thing I'm not going for, even though I'm using the Bible, I don't subscribe to the Bible. I don't believe that them niggas was historic figures, okay? I believe Jesus is a personification of the Son, as was Adam, Noah, and Moses, as was every major patriarch, okay? Each one of them had a calendar. Okay, the calendar of Noah is 360 days long. All right, so these celestial calendars we find in common all over the world. And now here is where, you know, the dejectors like to get this comment off. Well, there are only so many days in a year, and if they counted, actually, they would all come to the same conclusion. Certainly, they were all using the moon at one time. They were all using the sun at the same time. And we can't say who was first with what. When we look at the calendars, we got one of the oldest calendars in the world was made in 3114 BC. Okay. And that's the Mayan calendar. All right. So when they want to say that the kingdom of Mali came over here and brought that knowledge, the kingdom of Mali wasn't even in existence when we made our calendar. Cut it the fuck out. All right. Just look at the whole picture symbolically and see that they all use the same shit. Water gods, serpent gods, tree gods, nature gods. They all kept the calendars. They all use a similar division of time. Okay? The Dene of Utah and Colorado. We talking about the people that were with the Anasazi in the West, for those people that know North American history. The Dene, D-I-N-E with an accent. All right? That these people have a traditional pattern that they put on their bowls. Okay? This pattern has 1 star in the middle of the bowl with 6 stars surrounding it. Now, that ain't the 7 constellations in the northern heavens. What do you think it is? The individual that conveyed this is an elder from the Dene who is responsible. He's like a griot, right? He has all of their oral traditions in his head. So he was explaining the bowl. He said that this bowl represents the belly of heaven, that this star in the middle represents the navel of heaven, the navel, N-A-V-E-L, of heaven, and that the 6 stars surrounding each take a turn being opposed. Now, how does Dine know this when Western history and science attributes the discovery of the precession to Hipparchus, okay, in the 4th century, 3rd century BC, all right, when this knowledge over here is everywhere, really is ancient everywhere. It's older than any form of government anywhere you go, okay? So we can use corn as the material evidence to prove that all of them peoples got their agriculture from us and or their civilization. But we can use the celestial bodies and their symbolism from all these people to show that the knowledge was ubiquitous. What do I mean by it? It was everywhere. Everywhere was using this template, all the way up to the 1500s, okay? And I'm AD, all the way up to the 1600s AD. This was a prominent symbolism used, and they still use it. You still find it in your Bible, like I said, right? But let me go back to the narrative. After the age of Gemini comes the age of Taurus, which is the age of Earth, okay? And commerce spread like crazy on the earth. Agriculture spread like crazy all over the earth in the age of Taurus, okay? Domesticated foodstuffs became the New World Order in the age of Taurus. Now, if you know astrology, even if you don't, you can Google this, okay? Taurus is agriculture. It is the domestication of animals, okay? And it is an earth sign. It is a fixed earth sign. A fixed earth is stone. And what was our main building component globally throughout the age of Taurus? Ta-da! Stone. You understand? And the great monoliths were all built and quarried in the age of Taurus, or rebuilt or refaced in the age of Taurus. Because I do believe some of them were built in the age, in all of the ages, saw some construction, some major construction, because that legacy passed from country to country, okay? And then this is where the big controversy is. Well, who had it first? The Africans want to scream they had it first. The Amarucans want to scream they had it first. The Hindus want to scream they had it first. You know, it really don't matter who had it first. What the fuck is the it that they had, that they all had? So that's the position that I took, because I see the controversy between the Pan-Africanists and the Pan-Americanists, okay? From those who believe that the dispersion occurred here to the rest of the world, and to those who firmly believe that the dispersion happened. To be honest, I believe that there was commerce in all directions, okay? I believe Americans were traveling the Atlantic and the Pacific, and I believe Pacific Islanders and Asians and Africans and Greeks even were traveling the Atlantic. And why do I believe this? If you know about Father Crespi, okay, Crespi, he stayed in Brazil or Peru. I think it may have been Peru. And because he had built a trust with the natives there, with the indigenous people, stop running. Because he had lived with them for so long and built a trust with them, they would come, and because they had converted to Christianity and they looked at him as a holy man, they would give them the artifacts that they found. And he had a collection of more than 10,000 pieces, gold, stuff that came off of gold walls, that later was pronounced a forgery, but is now fucking hidden. Nobody knows where it went. You see, the Vatican confiscated it all and relocated him. So, and somebody said that some of the pieces went up for auction and the rest of the pieces are nowhere to be heard of or seen. So somebody has them, right? The reason why I believe they went so hard on America, they didn't do in Africa. They colonized Africa, but they didn't do what they did over here. You know, great, massive 90% of the population of a continent wiped out anywhere else in the world, but over here, okay? And why was that? You see, I don't believe that it was by accident they brought diseases over here. They was giving them blankets with smallpox on it. So that wasn't an accident. Okay? Then why did the church discharge the edict to wipe out whoever didn't become a Christian? Why did they burn everything informationally and artifactually in America when they occupied America? Why? Because it proved that most of their Bible stories had already reached America before they did, which automatically makes you wonder, did it come from America in the first place? If it's true that there was no commerce and we had the full doctrine, then it was here first. That's my argument for those people who don't want to accept the fact that there are more currents easier traversed moving from west to east in the Atlantic and from east to west in the Pacific than there are currents easily accessed to come over here. So in other words, it's easier by boat to go from America to there on either side of America than it is to come over here. And America has, I don't know the exact number, but I'm going to throw a ballpark imagine number, okay? At least 5 times the rivers of the whole world altogether, okay? There are more rivers in North America alone than in all the continents put together, okay? And we might more than quadruple this shit. I don't know, though, because I ain't measured every river and I haven't looked at the actual statistics, right? But we were a boating people. There's evidence of metallurgy, copper mining in the New World. And listen, the astrology that they have in South America is identical to the astrology they have over there in certain cases. They use a scorpion for Scorpio in South America. Where does that come from? Okay, they want to say that the zodiac on the wall at Dendera is Greek in its origin. It really is Sumerian, okay? But, you know, they want to say that it belonged to the Greeks because the Ptolemies finished the building of construction in Egypt when they built that. That was the last monument that was supposed to be built. It was not the Ptolemies' idea. They came to finish a legacy that had already been started from the Temple of Seti.
What if the whole galaxy was known and the whole planet was known as Atlantis?
That's an idea that I have entertained for years, that Atlantis may not have been one geographic locale, that Atlantis was pre-flood Earth. Okay?
Yeah.
But this is conjecture. I'm going to admit it's conjecture on my part. So,
and what if we're in the Stone Age now?
Well, we're not in the Stone Age. We are in the age of Aquarius. We're in the age of technology. I mean, that's
but we still on rubber wheels. We still using oil for fuel, and we don't live long at all.
Listen, we still practice meditation. We still practice yoga. These things are 6,000 years old. We still practice canal building, irrigation. These things are 8,000 years old. So when you say we in the Stone Age because of that, we are still doing shit that we was doing in the Stone Age, and it's popularized. Okay, all these fucking meditation gurus and ass niggas. Okay, that shit comes from the age of Gemini, man, more than 9,000 years ago. You see, so when you say we in the Stone Age, we are in the Dark Age spiritually. Okay. Whether we are technologically advanced or not, it is us being in this spiritual dark that brings about the urge to create so many artificial tools to replace the mind. Because in the age of Leo, man was doing some wonderful things with his mind. We can prove that from all of the architecture that we still can't figure out how they built to this day.
And we believe that the God lives around the corner. I mean, whether you call it Stone Age, Smoky Age.
The Most High is above all this, in my opinion. But God can be anything you put your focus on. You see, God, money could be your God. Pussy can be your God. Knowledge can be your God. Prestige. You can worship your God. It's just something that you pay homage and worship to. So God isn't the state of being a supreme being, entity. Okay? A clay figure can be a God. All right? So You don't get the word God confused here with creator. You say, what if we in the Stone Age? We have the least amount of access to our higher faculties as we've ever had in written history. Okay? I'm not going to say human history, because I believe we go through the cycles of enlightenment and savagery and civilization and savagery and civilization and savagery every 25,920 years. We go through that. We go from matriarchy to egalitarian in 6,480 years, 6,480 years, and in another 6,480 it becomes entirely patriarchal. And here in the age of Aquarius is where the patriarchy reaches its peak, and it's starting to decline after what, 2,160 something years. Let me say 2533, 2400 AD, somewhere close to there. We're going to start to see women elevated again. We're going to start to see that process begin. I don't think that it will reach its peak for another 6,000 years. And over the course of 6,480 years, it will evolve to a total matriarchy. To a total egalitarianism. And then another 6,480 years to become totally matriarchal again. Now, the artifacts we find, the goddess artifacts we find on the earth concur with this math. For those of you who are doubting, wanting to know where I get this math from the precession and the study of geology, geological history of the earth, okay? I've been doing this for a while. Not that that matters, because what most people don't remember shit, right? And I still forget a lot of stuff that I read. Like right now, I keep forgetting to tell you that after the age of Gemini, right before the age of Gemini and the age of Cancer, there was no pole star, okay? So they turned to the sun, and the sun became the polar symbol. And this is when monarchy arose. And over an evolutionary period of a few thousand years, the monarchy took control of the priesthood. See, the priesthood used to select a champion or a priest king. And when that science became scarce, or when it through the loss of people, through war, through political movement, that science started to decline, the use of the sun and the moon and the ecliptic for the measurement of time became prominent. And the solar symbol is the king, the monarch, right? The lunar symbol is the mother, okay? So the human family became the motif now, as opposed to the gods. It's like the Titans and the Olympians, okay? The Titans were the northern polar deities, and the Olympians were the 12 deities, okay? Were the 12 gods that concur with the zodiac. So as man is able to build a society by putting it on a schedule, this is the importance of a calendar, because even in the absence of a unified religion and culture, if we all using the same calendar, we all on the same accord. We all, as far as timing is concerned, as far as scheduling, as far as planting, as far as food distribution, as far as the season for this and the season for that, we can easily get everybody on one accord if we implement the science into our calendars. And this is what they did globally, universally, ubiquitously. Okay?
So, you know what? You remind me, I got to say this, because, I'm kind of like, my imagination is running. You remind me of the real Doc from Back to the Future, and you building a covert time machine somewhere off camera, because
you sound like ChatGPT. Because look, I'm running this scheme in ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT tries to argue with me when I get to comparing America. It always finds need to remind me that the mainstream doesn't respect any idea of commerce between these people before Columbus. And I got to constantly tell it, So shut the fuck up about that.
Yeah, you got to train Chat GPT.
Yeah. And you got to train it every conversation, man. It doesn't take you, the last conversation you had, it doesn't take everything from that conversation and over. So you got to re-prep the motherfucker again. Because it'll reset itself when you reset a new page to start talking to it. Right? But at any rate, I use Chat GPT when I want them to list shit that I already know. Make me a list with this and this and this, then put it in order, shit like that. I can't ask it for real information. You know, Chat GPT wanted to argue with me about the fact that the birth certificate is a trust.
Wow. And then when you checkmate it, it says
in the mainstream legal community, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. They got to beat 14 charges using my birth certificate. Okay.
Wow.
You see, in the course of my life since 1997. Right? It's not every month. This didn't happen to me every month. It happened every night. I used to vend without a license. You know about that. You live in New York. We used to bootleg t-shirts, God. Okay. And I used to get arrested. I got arrested in North Carolina at the Ravens Super Bowl game. I got arrested at the All-Star game in Detroit. I got arrested in D.C. at the Wizards game. You know, I get arrested for doing business without a license. They got to let me go because in all actuality, I don't need a license to engage in lawful activity. But the police like to inconvenience a nigga, right? So, but on a few occasions, I got into a scuffle with the police because some of them just try to confiscate your shirts. They ain't not taking my shit. I don't give a fuck what happened. Because when it gets to court, it's gonna be the fight happened because he's trying to rob me. You dig? And I'm gonna stand on mine. I'm not afraid. You know, but the catch is one of them, I assaulted a police officer. Well, I got charged with it, whether I assaulted him or not. But to be honest, I assaulted him. Because he's already grabbing me up. So me hitting him, they can't tell. You know? So, but he put the charge on me. They dismissed it when I went to court and said, you're impersonating me right now, my honor. This nigga name was Gregory Gates. Okay? You know, this is one of the affidavits too, right? I said, you're impersonating me right now. And I'm the holder in due course. Man, they dragged me out that courtroom like I pulled out a machine gun. But when I got back up to jail, and the judge said, I'm going to send you under the jail. You're going back to jail. When I got back to the jail, they released me. Okay? This is how that works. And
wow.
You know, I don't know all the trust law. I know about being the holder in due course. And that's my strategy whenever I get locked up. And that's the federal guideline. That's they're committing identity theft whenever they arrest you, whether you're guilty or not. See, they take your fingerprints and all that stuff. This ain't even the topic of this show. But let me show you how.
We need to do a show about that.
Yeah, I can tell you what I know. I don't know everything, okay? And there's a lot of people out here that know more but have not done more. Okay?
I believe you.
Yeah, I tried it. Because I was in PG County at FedEx Field selling these lanyards, okay? And I bought these at the wholesale $1.50 a piece, and you can sell them at the games. They got the official NFL tag, so it's not bootleg, right? You can sell them at the games to the tailgaters, and I was paying $1.50 a piece for them, and selling them for $15 a wop, okay? 2 for $25. I was selling for $15 a wop, 2 for $25, stuff like that, right? So at any rate, the police tried to take it. I'm scuffling with them to keep him from taking it. They charged me with assault. When I get to court, it's only him. You see? He didn't have no witnesses or nothing, so I thought that was part of it. But I didn't even let it get that far. I immediately, when the judge says, state your name for the record, I said, why? So that you can be absolved of stealing my ID, or using a clerk who has no license to handle security bonds. She has no license to handle federal bonds. Yet she contacted Treasury and got my bid bond, performance bond. I want it on the record right by that time. They're dragging me out, but I'm putting it on the record as they're dragging me out that I'm the owner of those bonds. I'm the owner of the bid bond, the payment bond, and the security bond. Now, I have never seen these things, but I know they exist. And I know whenever I ass out in court like that, I get released, okay? So in court, they incorporate this. I think I talked about this the last time I was on your show. I definitely spoke about it on Black Magic on Brother Rich's show and on the pills platform before, right? So for those of you people who are new to me and new to this paradigm, when you go to court, they use a celestial curse. Okay? Really, what they're using is the Chaldean order, the speed of the planets. And the planets are responsible for concurring with our evolutionary growth on a mental, physical, spiritual, economic, on every scale. But here, it's spiritual. Okay? You have to understand it's maritime court, which makes you the moon, which is a woman in astrology. So they treat you like a bitch. No, I'm not saying that women are bitches. I'm just saying they're treating you like a bitch ass nigga, like they would treat a woman who can't defend herself. When you come into the courtroom, you step past that banister. That banister is like the prow of a ship. You are boarding onto the ship. The judge is the captain. The DA is the ship's mate, or the steward, and your lawyer is the ship's mate. So all three of them are working against you. All right. Never give the police your name. Why? Because that's the first thing they ask you for. This is the first thing they need to process you. Have some heart. Stop being such a pussy. Don't give them your name. You don't have to be violent or hostile. Just don't give them your name. No, my name is private property under the 4th Amendment. My name is my property, and you don't have permission to use it. Okay? See, people immediately jump to the 5th Amendment. Okay? I enforce the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I go all the way down the line. So I establish the freedom of speech. I can talk however I want, and can't nobody in here talk until I'm done. I have a right to speak to the record, and I would like to do that. And this is where you have the opportunity to do that at. But it's very smart to write a letter to the judge, notarize it, send it to him, a registered mail, making those pronouncements and making the pronouncement, the proposal that you are going to put this on the record, and that if he refuses to let you do so, then you're going to charge him with usurping the Constitution. You can write him a letter and tell him that. Okay? So then, and whatever you write that they don't answer is law. You write the law, right? People don't believe that, but you write the law. And I don't care if they know your name, if they are in possession of your driver's license and they're talking about, is that you? They need you to say, yes, that's me. Okay? So don't give them that. And they can't take it from you. I mean, they can take the plastic ID, it's state property. Okay? But they can't make you give them a name. They can try to coerce you. But if you're willing to hold out, if you can hold water, see, because that's what a real man going to do. He's not going to bend over. He's not going to take him a jar of lubrication to court with him. I'm taking my sword, okay, and my shield. You dig? And so this is what I know. So this is what I do. Everything I'm going to say in that courtroom, I write the judge and tell him I'm going to say it when I come. And I tell him that I'm there on special appearance. You got to pronounce these things, as silly as it sounds to you, as useless as it is. And they're going to act like they don't know what you're talking about. But they know. They know. Okay? So I discovered this when you come into the courtroom, you're on the boat. Well, that's the moon right there. That is the fastest moving planet. It's the first planet that moves the fastest in the Chaldean order. If you're using it from fast to slow, the moon is going to be first. And what else does the moon represent? It represents your family and your mother. So the judge will ask you for your name, which comes from your family. You see, this is the first move. It's lunar. And the human constitution, being the personification, the physical form of the moment that the universe was in when you were born, you are the universe. So when we throw some at you from it, you're going to be receptive to it. Why most people comply. Because they're receptive to that energy. Okay, to the coercive force of the universe. There are coercive forces. Don't eat for 6 days if you think that's a lie. If your mind is so true, don't eat for 30 days. Okay, and refuse to listen to your stomach. It's going to get louder than your mind eventually. Okay, so you understand these are laws. These are things you can't violate. So that are difficult to go against the tide with. Knowledge is the only weapon. Okay, when you know better, you can't be pushed. All right, but they push you for your name, which is Mercury, which is next in the pecking order. Okay. Now, and as far as the birth certificate is concerned, I get your mother, the moon, to sign you away, Mercury. Well, in the courtroom, you are taking the authority over your boat, so you surrender your boat when you give them your flag, your name, which is Mercury. Okay, so we got the moon and Mercury. Mercury is the next fastest planet in terms of speed. All right, and the whole process is a legal contractual exchange, which is the next planet coming, Venus. Venus is contracts, is legalities, government, and agreements. Okay, contract. So what are they getting you to agree to give away? Okay, we got the moon, you, the boat, the maritime sense of it all. You got you making the signature, the proclamation, or you reading into the record, Mercury. Okay, then you got Venus, the legal aspect where you're contracting, where you're making conditions, where you're negotiating, and going into court being totally silent. Silence is acquiescence, man. You better speak up for yourself, man. Not immediately. The first thing you say is he has no authority. Okay, because that's what they got your mother to sign away. The sun, after Venus, in terms of speed through the zodiac, is the sun. The sun is sovereignty. The sun is the sovereign of our solar system. Who the fuck would disagree? On a planetary scale, who the fuck runs this solar system? It damn sure no ain't Jupiter. Okay? He ain't ruling the whole solar system. We can do without Jupiter. We can't dispense with the sun. We can't do away with the sun. So the sun is a primary figurative. And so is your sovereignty. Okay? Your ability to rule yourself. After the sun comes Mars. Mars is enforcement. It's police. It's policy. And after you agree to get, or your mother agrees, or you in court agrees to give them your sovereignty, they can enforce upon you whatever they want. Mars, okay? Violence, they'll beat your ass. You see, you're a citizen, they can whoop your ass while they can shoot you and not go to prison because you state property. If you correct your status, they don't own you. And they own you. All that, now they don't own me. Yeah, they own your ass. They'll pull you over, tell you to get the fuck out the car, and you better listen. You see, because they own you. And your retaliation is no. Your ability to go into court and stand on your square is no, because you give them your name. That's the signature right there. The name you give them in the police precinct gives them permission to sell your fingerprints and your photograph. What they do is they put that shit in a file and they securitize it. And that shit is up for bid before you even make it into the courtroom. While you sitting in the bullpen, they bidding on your fucking picture and your fingerprint. And the fingerprints in the picture with your signature is agreement to give access to your trust, which is your birth certificate money. Okay? The funds attached to the birth certificate. Okay? So that right there is Venus and Mercury. Okay? Mercury is the document. Venus is the agreement, this contract to sign away the sun, your sovereignty. And then they enforce that with the police using laws. Jupiter, that's the next planet after Mars. Okay? Jupiter is the higher courts. The laws that they make in the higher courts. And they use the law, Jupiter, to deprive you. Saturn deals with confiscation, deals with rapacity, taking shit from nigga. I just took that nigga shit. You know, pinned this nigga up, took his chain. That's Saturn shit. Okay? The Caucasians came, Europeans came to North America and took this land from the Moors. Okay? So they took it. Right? There was no great war over it. They just came and dogged the shit and took it and claimed it, right? So that is Saturn. And the next planet after that is Uranus, which is the planet of freedom. So I'm going to read the whole thing to you when I'm done so you hear it all in one phrase. But after they take your freedom, they do this based on your ignorance. The planet of ignorance comes after Uranus. It is Neptune. Okay? Neptune deals with fuck foolery, dumb assery, fear, being scared to death. And it also deals in its most general terms with not knowing something, not knowing, unbeknownst to you. So then for the rest of your life, Pluto represents your life force. Okay? Now let's look at all of them in one sentence, man. Okay? You come in the courtroom, they get you to agree to give away your sovereignty. They enforce that by the police and use the law to lock you up unbeknownst to you. What was unbeknownst to you? The fact that this whole thing is a commercial action, the fact that you are the holder in due course, and that you relinquish your holdership when you give them your name. It is as simple as this. Don't ever tell a cop your name, okay? If you're going to give them your name, you might as well travel around with some lube and some condoms, whether you male or female, so you don't get pregnant when they go up in you, because that's all they're going to do in that courtroom, whether you cop or fight, okay? They're going up in you. When they give you an asshole full of time. Okay? So, and the judge needs 3 things to incarcerate you legally and lawfully. Okay? And he knows you don't know this. So they lock you up anyway, without a warrant, without a trial, without any proof, without a victim, or without any damages to any property. Okay? That shit is illegal. It's unlawful. But they would lock you up. Why? Because you fucking signed. Okay? You signed. You signed the paper when you go into jail. That paper you sign when you go into intake in jail, you stupid for signing that. Because what that says is, I agree to all the policies in here. Okay? So they will whoop your motherfucking ass, and they ain't going to jail, whoop your ass and throw you in the hole till you heal, okay? And with no skin off their back, and don't give a fuck about a lawsuit because it's the institution that's paying, not the police officers. Do you get that? They very seldom fire correctional officers for jumping an inmate. Okay? And if the inmate was half a man, he fought back, and therefore they had evidence to say that he struck them. You see where I'm coming from? So it's a when you sign in, they can treat you like a regular resident. Okay? That's why you got resident on your shit, or inmate. I refuse to sign anything. Every time I get locked up, they put me in the crazy junk for a couple of days. When the psychiatrist comes to evaluate me, he gonna tell him I'm not crazy, and they got to put me in general pop every time this happens. This has happened 5 times in my life, and I don't get either the badge that they give you or the armband. I don't have to wear that in jail. So what happened in Binghamton, New York, in Broome County? Okay, I got locked up. I recorded the shit, and the recording of it is on my Cosmophysics page here on YouTube. Okay, but anyway. My old one, not the new one that y'all see, or the more recent one that you see, but the real old one from 2012. Okay, I did this to a cop, and I refused to give him my name. I told him, you don't have a victim. You fuck with me, I'm gonna sue you. I got the whole thing recorded and it's on YouTube, right? Well, the next day, they came out there like 15 deep and choked me up, grabbed me up, and locked me up for disorderly conduct, right? So when I get into the courtroom, I had my old Earth. She was alive then, God rest her soul. Now, she bought my birth certificate up there. So when I went into the courtroom and raised my birth certificate, and they act like I raised a grenade in that motherfucker. And they tackled me. They held me to the end of the day. They was like, why must you be so difficult? I said, you stole my identity. You done kidnapped me. Okay, you don't have a single victim. And he was like, well, what do you suggest that I do? I said, I suggest that you let me go right now. You want cooperation? Let me go. He said, nope, I'm going to send you under the jail, right? But he let me go. He just did that in front of the court. So what I'm trying to tell everybody here is that they use that spell, okay, to deprive you of your freedom unbeknownst to you for the rest of your life, okay, to deprive you of those freedoms. And it's plain and simple in the word mortgage, okay? Mort means death. Till death, a contract, a mortgage, okay, until the measure of death is what that word means, okay? So when you give your signature away, you are attorning. You are agreeing to something. So when you don't sign, when you get into jail, you guys, it's going to be difficult in the first couple of days, but you by yourself, it ain't really difficult because you ain't got to deal with no other inmates, right? When the psychiatrists come to see if you nuts, be sane. And they got to put you in gen pop. Now, you're a prisoner of war. You are not a normal prisoner. You are not an inmate. Okay? You're not a convict. What y'all don't know is I seen a nigga in Pennsylvania. This cat, I can't mention his name. He eventually got locked up again and for a body, right? But at any rate, he beat these charges, man. He went in there with his birth certificate, and when he came back from court, this nigga had a folder this big. Okay, this big when it's laying down, you know, the long paper, right? And it was like a fucking dictionary reference book in the public library. You know that big old 50-pound, 100, damn near 75-pound book they got? That's how much paper was in it. And on the cover of this brown folder, it said Relinquiari Novus, abandoned ship. Okay, so I have seen with my own eyes and with my own counsel, because I'm the one who told him to bring his birth certificate to court with him, that they will let you go. But you have to have heart. They're going to try you because you don't realize that it's a gigantic business. Before you even get to the grand jury, you have a bid bond, a performance bond, and a payment bond, and these things are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's the debt to society that you're making. You see, when you give them your signature, you're attorneying. You're giving them permission to take your property and represent you. You're awarded the state. When you get an attorney, you're hiring this attorney because to attorn means to transfer power. So you're transferring your power to an officer of the court, and he is transferring that power to the judge so that you can't press charges for identity theft. Okay, they are stealing your identity, but not if you sign. If you sign, you're giving it away. You're giving them permission to use it. This is why you sign your fingerprint. You're giving them permission to securitize and sell it. That's why you put your name on the record. That's giving the judge permission to create this constructive trust with you as the surety, as the collateral. And if you accept that truth and stand on it, you coming home. Okay? The most difficult encounter I had with the government was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Common law state. These motherfuckers don't play. They don't give a fuck. You say that they ain't got jurisdiction, the judge will be like, okay, prove it. And if you can't prove it, and I couldn't prove it for 90 days, and they held me for 112 days. Okay? But when I wrote the affidavit and sent them a Xerox copy of my birth certificate and told them I was going to be presenting this shit in court, he said it in front of everybody in that courtroom, and there was more than 100 people in there. He says, I do not want you to sue me. So if you agree not to sue me, I'll let you go home today. And I wanted to go home. So I agreed, and I went home that day. No charges, no nothing. But the 112 days that I spent in, I couldn't sue for. Okay? Because they knew I had a lawsuit. And I really didn't care about the lawsuit. It wasn't about getting paid as much as it was about beating the government, okay, at their own shit. So when I realized that they use that Chaldean sequence of the planet to create the spell that they use to ensnare you in that courtroom, I told the judge, I'm a real magi. You're just a magistrate. I'm a straight magi. Okay? I don't use calendar dates in there. I use zodiacal placement. When the judge asked me when I was born, I told him the truth of the matter is I don't know when I was born because I can't remember. But I was told that the sun was at the 7th degree of Scorpio and Saturn was at the 10th degree of Pisces. And this only happens once every 60 years. So you can figure out what Julian day I was born on if you want. Okay? I don't have to use that calendar. You don't have to use none of their shit in there. And you can set precedents. The fact that you don't is why they take advantage of you. But let's get back to the lesson at hand. They do use archetypal symbolism in the protocol that they use to lock your ass up. All right? Peep how in astrology, Pisces is prison. Pisces is also religion and it's also confinement. Okay? So when they put you in jail, you can't have shit, but you can get a Bible. If you run out of toilet paper, they'll bring you a Bible. You may have to wait until the stock comes in next day or 2 days before you get you another roll of toilet paper. But they got Bibles everywhere in that motherfucker. Okay, because in solitude is where people seek to escape, and religion is a form of escape from suffering, whether you in jail or not. Okay. So when we get back to the template, to this day, all kings wear crowns. The crown is symbolic of the rays that come off of the sun. So the king is made in the archetype of the sun. After a while, the kings became so powerful and empirical, they became emperors, all right? That they were able to seize the administrative power from the stellar order or the stellar priests and make them the clerics. So the priests, when we get to Egypt, the priests are all serving Pharaoh. You see, they all fall subordinate to Pharaoh. But at one time, the priest would pick the king and say, "You're our chief representative." Okay? But when Leo became the archetype, when the sun became the archetype, they moved to kingship. And it was in kingship that the matriarchy started losing its grip. Because while it was a council of elders all over the globe, that was the elder women and the elder people, period, which the majority of them were women. Okay? Because men die off in battle and on hunting trips. But pejoratively. All right. We engage in the peril. So the Congress or the group or the administrative group or the priesthood, which Congress is only a substitute for, were the women. So this was during matriarchal times. But during the course of the ages, once we got to the age of Taurus, it became egalitarian. And we know this because in ancient Egypt during the age of Taurus, and let me give you the date for what I'm referencing. 5027 BC to 2867 BC. This is the age of Taurus. So in the age of Taurus, they elevated the kings above the priesthood, and the king became the all-powerful in the land. So we get all kind of despotism with Akhenaten, the king of Khmer, whatever his name was, and all the monarchs that you find in Persia, England, and Africa, and all that. You find that sun symbolism and gold as a symbol of the king. Okay, this is when the zodiac started to take prevalence. Now, these two things were tied up at one time. So while you had polar ages of 37,000 plus years each, you had solar ages. Polar for the polar constellations and solar for the solar constellation, for the zodiac. Okay. Now there are several different zodiacs, but one of the most ubiquitous numbers we find with regard to the zodiac when they employ the sun is 12. We find that number everywhere. China, India, Persia, Arabia, Europe, Africa, America. Okay? You also find other numbers, but for the most part, universally, these kingships use this template. Now, what makes me uneasy, I am American. I was born over here. I'm from the Green tribe, from the Minqua of the Iroquois here, okay, on my great-grandmother's side of the family, all right? So then I can trace indigenous roots here, but I also have African in my lineage because my great-great-great-grandmother was a slave, okay? My great-great-great-grandfather was not, but my great-great-great-grandmother was, all right? And she had African blood, and that's the African blood in me. So the big between the African and the American, see, this is foolishness to me. It's going to take all of us to get this joker out of power, man, to get him up out that seat. All right? It's going to take all of us working together like BRICS is proposing right now to bring that movement about. And astrologically, I ain't got that happening in our generation. Okay? I don't have our folks, because I don't want to use the word N-word. I want to use it. Okay? I'm getting older. I'm seeing the futility and the folly of using that word, saying I could use it because I'm black. We didn't invent that word for ourselves. You want to tie that to the Naga, say Naga. You want to tie it to the Negus of Ethiopia, say Nagus. Don't say nigger. Okay? Get away from that, man. That's a label put on us, and as long as we accept it, it can be put on us. Okay, gotta throw that shit off. Gotta find common grounds by which to unite with all of our different spiritual schools and all of our superiority complexes, man. We have to learn to embrace the African, whether you like African immigrants or not, because we're gonna need support, man. We don't have the resources that this beast got. We don't have that. So we're gonna have to smarten up, and I ain't got that happening in the next 100 years, man. As it stands, if you understand the state of politics that was going on before Columbus got here, you had several different groups of people. Those Native Americans who calling themselves indigenous came into this through the Bering Strait in the 900s, okay? Between the 300s and 900s AD. So they're brand new here, okay? We were here when they got here, right? Understand that. We were here, those pyramids was built, the Popol Vuh was written, the transatlantic and trans-Pacific travel was ongoing, okay? I am of the mind that the state of the world before the catastrophe was Atlantis. We could call the whole planet Atlantis, okay? Everywhere there was civilization, there were Atlanteans, okay? Everywhere there's civilization, we don't have evidence of a gradual build. Every one of them gigantic cities or metropolises, ancient metropolises, which is a small town to us, but they're big as London, big as Paris, okay? Here, all over the world, these cities, okay? They were all built and governed under the principles taken from the hierarchy of the stars in the northern heavens. And as it migrated from the priesthood, from the Congress administration, a rulership over the people, to the individual monarch, it transferred from those 7 to the 12. And this lore, the 12 zodiac, became popular. Now, they used to do them together, okay? And that there was a supreme ruler and influence of the age, which that's the Northern Star represent, and there was a manifest form that it took here on Earth, which is what the 12 zodiac signs represent. So you had the mover and the moved in this symbolism, which you have the government, which is the mover, and you have the people, which are the subjects of that government and are moved by them. They make motions, and the people are compelled by them. You see, this whole science came from observation of the stars. So the origin of your religion, of your political system, of your psychology, of your mythology, of your economic, the dollar has 4 quarters like the moon has 4 quarters. You dig? See, it's all currency. You dig? The moon governs the currents. And the moon is used in stock market astrology to watch the raising and falling of prices. With her speed, the prices rise and fall. Anybody that does stock market astrology will attest to that. You see? So from every hierarchy and administrative protocol created by man, definitely in the Northern Hemisphere, since 12,000 BC and further back, use this template. I think I could rest my case there. I mean, I could think of some other things to say if I was some interaction, but I'm like, Dre. Yeah. How long it been? 2 hours and 48 minutes?
Yo, bro, this is amazing. I thank you and your ancestors, man.
Yeah, I thank my ancestors too. For niggas like you.
This is amazing. So you welcome to come back, or you welcome to ride like a train through the night. It's on you, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm not done. I could really never be done. So we could take questions, man. And then, because I know people are listening, they got questions, they got comments. I want to hear from the dissenters as well as the agreeers, the confirmers, you know.
Okay, question here. Let me say, wait, I'm still on the reasoning about the world ain't getting better in the next 100 years.
No, I didn't say the world. I said our folks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I said our folks.
Well, maybe that's their world. Our folks is their world.
The thing is, this is why we fractal up into communities, okay? We fractured up. We got the conscious community, the Black Israelites, the Nation of Islam. We got this, we got that. All of us want something different. We all believe something. We all believe we are better than each other. And until that shit is quelled, we are vulnerable to be pimped the fuck out. Okay? You better look around while you God-minded motherfuckers who think your imagination runs this world. It don't. Because look at the condition we in as a collective. Fuck your individual success, man. I'm talking about as a collective. Okay? We are still an oppressed people as a collective in this country. Can't nobody deny that, because I'll prove it to you. They choked a nigga to death right in the middle of the street on national TV and gave a nigga 3 years, gave a nigga 32 months. A nigga shot a black woman through a window like he was shooting at a goddamn killing maniac. And they gave this nigga 32 months? Come on, man. If it was a white man, they shot that cop, would have lost his job and all that. If it was a Chinaman, because the Chinese have more solidarity. And now, when I say you still stuck, you don't like that I think you niggas ain't gonna get it together within 100 years, what the fuck you been doing over the last 100? It done got worse. Our sense of unity has gotten worse than it was 100 years ago. You want me to sit up here and make fucking believe with your crazy ass that niggas are gonna reform in 100 years? Not in this present mind state, we ain't.
Facts.
Because we in the same mind state we was in when they got off the boat. Okay, what's his name? The king of Florida. I forget his name now. Fuck. Oh. I can't remember. But he's a cigar holding Indian, the dark skin with the afro with the feathers and the 2 gold circles on his chest.
Osceola?
No, something Iwa. Hero Iwa or something. I can't remember it right now. He's the king of Florida. But anyway, you can get, so his last name is IWA. Okay, I mean, the end of his name is IWA. Shiro Iwa or something like that. Kiro Iwa. I can't fucking remember right now. But anyway, he wanted to use the Europeans to invade, because when they asked him for gold, he says, I don't have any gold here. I got this piece right here. He said, but my enemy, so many hills that way, they got the gold there. If you help me conquer them, I'll give you all the gold you want. So we had the same mentality. It's not gold and beads and glass beads. It's cocaine and heroin. It's whatever the fuck they doing in the street now. Okay? So they're not shooting like they was back in the 80s. They just snitch on you now, just turn you in to the Caucasian. You see what I'm saying? So as a collective, we don't fuck with each other like that.
Facts.
See? And we got to learn Tim Aqua, right? But he had another name too, okay? Shiro Iwa or something like that. Shiro Iwa or something like that. But anyway, Tim Aqua was the tribe that he come from. That's what I remember too, Tamaqua. All right, but anyway, he was the king of the Tamaqua, right? And so I heard some Caucasian historians say that he actually invaded Europe. They said people don't know that, but that's another show. And I was like, I've been looking all over for that information. Did the king of the Tamaqua try to invade Europe? That seems kind of far-fetched to me, but so didn't the fact that we are actually from America sound far-fetched when I first heard it. You know? So when I said it to my father, he was like, man, you stupid. You know our mother's Cherokee. My mother's Cherokee. I'm like, what? Dark as she is, he's like, man, Indians were black. I was like, that's what really made me believe it. Hearing it on the internet, I was of the mind that y'all niggas just hate being black so bad that you just gonna pick and being the original Indian to get away from being black. But until I understood what they was doing, until I actually read the literature that they was getting that from, and these Caucasians were the first ones to proclaim that Egypt was colonized by America. This wasn't our folks recently. This is all done back in the late 1800s. They have done well for themselves to hide that information. Because if we had this information back in the 20s, I'm pretty sure we'd be a lot closer now to unifying. You know, that if we knew this back then, we would have worked it. Because we were working with solidarity when we didn't have it back then. We had solidarity up until the 60s after the civil rights movement. They gave you niggas them jobs you was demonstrating for and pacified your motherfucking ass. So now the police can lock you up and ain't nobody helping. Police whoop your ass. Where's my phone? I need to catch that shit. Fuck saving that nigga. See, this, as long as that's going on, you over the next 100 years, niggas ain't united. So you can be fucked up if you want. I'm being rational. I'm being realistic. I remember back in 2009, I don't remember the brother's name, and I wouldn't say it if I did. He's a Moorish brother. He called me. I don't know how true it is. So, Moors, don't get mad at me, okay? But he said to me that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali predicted that America would fall in 179 years. And he wanted me to find the astrological counterpart to that idea and come on his show. This is when it was Block Talk, right? And advocate that. And what I told the brothers is that would be dishonest. Because I don't know of any 179-year term for the American government. If Noble Drew Ali did say that, I need to see the chart he used because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a better astrologer than he was. Okay? So this is because there's no evidence that he was as good as me. There's no evidence that he was even a practicing astrologer. So my whole point was I had to see that chart myself. I'm not just going to go with it because Noble Drew Ali said it. I don't go with shit that my mother said I was born at 8:35. I don't believe that shit. My chart works for 9:51. So if I don't believe my mother, what the fuck make you think I'm going to take your word for it? Okay? I need hardcore evidence, man. You think that concurs with my motherfucking perception before I embrace something with the gusto. You see? So, you hearing tonight what I have found and embraced to the gusto. I still haven't spoken on things that I haven't resolved in my mind that I could elaborate on. But in my mind, they're not resolved. And I need to feel comfortable with my presentation. Because, I don't want nobody, no dumbass, making no video trying to debunk me and being right. Make all the videos you want debunking me. But I ain't going to sit tight if you're right. Because I strive like a motherfucker not to be wrong. You get where I'm coming from? I try to be precise as I can be. So far, what I presented to you is what I found. Now, unfortunately, I have not ingrained the name of every solar god. I have not ingrained the name of every storm god, every volcano god, every god of the sky, every god of the 7 domains. I have not memorized them because I don't know all them languages. But what I do know is stellar language. I know celestial language, okay? And I see it every fucking where. So it is very hard for me to believe that at one time, everybody knew everybody and was traveling everywhere. I'll give you another piece of evidence, okay? The ancient Americans used colors, 4 colors, red, yellow, white, and black for the 4 directions. So did the Egyptians. So did the Hindus. So did the Khmer Empire. All them people on the equator supposedly had no contact. All of their calendars were made out of eclipse cycles. I don't give a fuck where you go. Okay, even the Sophic cycle associated to Sirius, that Sophic calendar is 81 Exelamos cycles to the day. 9 times 9 eclipse cycles to the fucking day. It's 1,461 years. Okay, they attribute that to Sirius, the dog star. But Sirius has no mechanical motion that measures a 1,461-year cycle. Yet they call that calendar the Sophic cycle. Why? Because they deny that the ancient Egyptians knew about eclipses. And that calendar proves it. I mean, an Exelamos is 54 years, 12 days, and about 7 hours. Okay? 9 of those cycles are 81 eclipses cycles. Okay? And that cycle, when I saw that number, I was like, that's the Sophic number. I'm like, hold up, that's the Egyptian calendar. So I went online for searches of the Egyptian calendrics and found that symbol where they're using red, yellow, black, and white. Found where the Hindus are using it. Found where the Americans. If there wasn't transoceanic travel, these motherfuckers was telepathic as a motherfucker. And that would be even better. You dig? If we was telepathic talking across those, we don't need to go. We can fucking talk to each other through the water, okay? And there's slight evidence that suggests that in Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, written by Albert Churchward, when he said that 2 European explorers went into Africa and they had to get permission from each king to travel through each kingdom to explore the land, right? And while they were being transferred from one village scout to another village scout, because they couldn't travel these people's territory, they had to let them know that they were sending people over there. Across the water, you couldn't even see the land on the other side. In this book, Lewis and Clark, or Stevenson and Clark, whoever it was that went into Africa, them 2 niggas, okay, in the 1800s, they said that one of the dudes jumped out the boat and went to the water and stuck his head under the water and started slapping the water. It's like African Morse code. And whoever, they were looking at each other like, these niggas is crazy. This motherfucker got his head in the water, smack. What the fuck is he doing? Because you couldn't see no land on the other side. But when they got they got in their boats and went to the other side. When they got to the other side, the people over there knew exactly how many people were coming and exactly the nature of the people that were coming. So it was obvious to the scout that they were communicating across the water through the water. Okay, so we knew things back then that y'all can't even begin to wrap your motherfucking mind around. We was doing heart surgeries with no anesthetics. And wasn't nobody hollering and screaming. They didn't have to hold them down. So you know we had that art down to a motherfucking magnificent technique. Pardon my language. You know I'm hyped. I get souped, okay? Especially when I'm giving license.
Yeah, right? I like it like this.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
Some people don't. And I'm telling them right now, I got 8 zillion fucks in reserve for you that will never amount to 1 zillionth of a fuck. But you can't say I didn't give a fuck, because I'm gonna give you 8 zillion. Okay? That you know, if you don't like my demeanor, being docile can never be my style of pedigree. Long as the Most High defended me from my hostile tendency. And any enemy that steps to me, I will handle relentlessly, and beef with me gonna go for centuries, nigga. Okay? I ain't playing. So this is how it is. That whole template, because it was successful the first time it was used, it continued to be used. Got to the point where you got several kingdoms using it, because they all come from same lineage. You married my niece to your cousin and all that old bullshit. These royal families intermarrying, they used to conquer each other for the secrets they was finding beyond what they already had regarding this science. Okay? Same thing they do today when they send a spy over here to steal our technology. Science of the stars was the supreme technology. It is to this day. The niggas that work for NASA that do the calculations, no, I don't believe they've been to the moon, so don't start that shit. But they still got mathematicians working for them. That's where I'm trying to get, okay, without going to college, I'm trying to teach myself to be able to do what they do, okay? That's the math that you really need to be able to do to be the stupidest nigga on earth with this shit. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to be. Yeah, I'm not dispensing of my ego. I'm not going to let it crush yours. But I'm not dispensing of mine at all. I'm going to nurture that motherfucker.
You're welcome to come back anytime. I told you that, RaAkhu. You home base.
I believe you, God. The thing is, I believe you, okay? And it seemed to you that was taking a long time. See, but I wanted to get all of this down pat. You know, I told you about it. And I said, look, man, I got research that I'm still doing. I don't want to come in here and only be able to speak for 45 minutes and then I'm dry. I want to be able to talk until I'm done with this shit. And I'm really only 1/3 of the way through it, man. Because there are several other mythologies that I read in oral tradition that I just can't call to mind in this moment. And because I've already been here for 3 hours, I don't feel like going through all my notes.
No, you come back, man. We'll keep the lights on for you.
See? I don't feel like going through. I wrote it all in red so that I can easily reference it today, okay? I was doing the math to this whole thing so that I can find the simplest way to convey it verbally, because most of the people watching this right here aren't astrologers, man. Whatever they're interested in, most of them have not even studied the science. So to be entertained and at the same time comprehensively educated, I feel honored. Okay, and I'm doing my fucking best to convey it to you in a language that you can take home with you. And no, I'm not the first one to go this route. I'm the first one to let the symbols tie the cultures together without regard for the mainstream. See, the mainstream says that the Americans had no contact with the old world. Fuck y'all. The symbolism, how did the symbolism get all over the place? And it didn't sprout up here and sprout up there because there are no variations. Okay? They all use the 1, the 4, the 7, and the 12. To death. They all use eclipse. All of the music, they all use red, yellow, black, and white for the 4 directions. So I don't see how they could have so many things in common for the same usage if it didn't come from one place. And the fact that we have the sky and that it moves, that it's still pretty much in the same form that it was in 10,000 years ago. It hasn't changed that much, okay? It takes 100,000 years for a fixed star to move 1 degree. So we, civilization-wise, that we have recorded is only 6 to 5,000 years, okay? The ancients had a history that was 38,000 years long. Okay, and that's explained by the riddle that Herodotus gave to that Berosus gave to Solon and that Herodotus reported. Listen to his poetry, and then I'm out of here. Herodotus testified to what the wise priest best described. He said the sun rose in the west beside the east, where he is said to rise at least twice in the south and north. That's if you can conceptualize this message I've been mouthing on, believe your scholars mesmerized. You skeptics try, but I specialize in rectifying charts by what they specify. With the method I perfected, I can check the skies with my motherfucking naked eye and recognize every aspect applied. Like October 30th, 1965, when Pluto and Uranus were conjunct in my third. See, that means my words will electrify selective minds on the strength that I am extra wise to the deception. Why should I accept the lies that your text describes when your shit looks so weak next to mine? And besides, I ain't got to empathize. The loving sun above us all rejects you guys. Except that I ain't the type to let you fry when you should have been left to die, not kept alive. Ever since the second I let you guys exercise commerce and enterprise on earth, you've been a scourge and a curse. And mine ain't gonna let you slide.
Woo!
Yeah.
If I had a drum, I'd beat the drum, brother.
Yeah, I hate rhyming to drums. I ain't no hip-hop artist, I'm a poet. I ain't no rapper. Don't put me with them sissy niggas, man.
No, I said,
don't. Anybody. I don't need no beat.
Yo, you are the beat.
Yeah, I am the beat. My cadence is the flow. Okay?
But it's a drum beat.
I don't have nothing against drums. I just say I don't want to rhyme to a beat.
No,
I make music, God. I love drums.
Yo, you have a rhythmic beat when you speak.
Yeah, I've been working on that shit for years. Thank you for noticing. You did? Thank you for noticing. So is there anything you want to ask me? Is that the only question we had in the chat, man? They not engaging me?
Yeah, you got a packed house, man.
Well, then let me address the questions and I'm willing to stay. Okay? But I don't want to be struggling to remember things that aren't fresh in my memory. So I want to leave it there. I can always do a part 2 to this shit anytime I conclude the rest of my studies. Understand what you just heard was a condensed, the last 4 months of study. I've been studying exactly what I was talking about specifically and concentratedly. You understand? So, and I still ain't done. I really, because I fuck with you, I let you put me on here, but I wasn't done. I'm not done. I still have to memorize them other places and show the artifacts that they had in common and the numbers as opposed to just mentioning them. You dig what I'm saying? I still got to show all that. So, you know, I really wasn't prepared for the full shit. I hear you. You're going to say it again. But you can come back, God. Okay. And I will.
Here's a question. Why is the cow connected to the moon?
Why the cow is connected to the moon? Wow. Because the moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus. In the third degree of Taurus. And the moon is milk. It is nourishment. And what did we use the cow for when we weren't vegetarianing? We ate that motherfucker. We drank his milk and his blood. So the cow jumping over the moon is the moon's exaltation in Taurus zodiacally. That's the astrological connection between the moon and the cow.
Okay, got another question. Can you ask RaAkhu which zodiac age was the swan that
watched over the constellation with no stars, aka the void? That was the age of Cancer between 9,347 BC and 7,187 BC.
Okay, I'm scrolling through here. Y'all better get some water and drink to keep up with brother, man. Y'all better be drinking something.
Somebody bring me some water.
Because he's definitely spinning our chakras tonight. Let's see. I'm scrolling because you got so many comments, man. You set the place on fire.
Get the good ones. Get the skeptical ones too, man. We need to address them too, because somebody said to me on Instagram, man, y'all don't never address niggas that got something to say. You don't never answer the motherfuckers that are contrary. Y'all, I want to answer those that are contrary because I love dealing with skeptics more than man. Wait a minute. Yeah, I like the skeptic because he gonna learn something before he leave here. He ain't just listening to be entertained.
Here's one. I don't think we dealt with this question. RaAkhu, based on your most recent astrological observations, calculations, what do you see occurring throughout the rest of the year?
Ooh. You can go back to Brother Rich's show where I read the year, okay? Because I don't have it by heart. But what I know, the main aspect of that chart for January the 1st this year, the birth chart for this year, using January the 1st of this year as the birth chart for that at midnight, right? There was an opposition between Mars and Pluto, okay? So that chart speaks for the whole year, but it's going to happen every time Mars and Pluto come into a tight aspect, okay? So this is what we've been seeing since the beginning of the year. First, we saw Elon Musk's car get blown up. Then we saw the dude drive through the Louisiana. We got people still doing that. So many little kids are getting murdered, okay, because Mars was in Leo, the sign of children. Pluto is in Aquarius, the sign of the pervert. And that is not something against all you Aquariuses, because Scorpio means murder, okay? So that don't mean every Scorpio is a fucking murderer, right? So Aquarius is the sign of unconventional sexual exercises, okay? But that don't mean every Aquarius is a homo or a freak body or whatever the fuck, okay? It just points to that. Just like Virgo points to cereal, rice, corn, oatmeal, shit like that. It also points to shit, turd, nigga, feces. Okay, so the signs do more than describe people. And to be honest, if you identify yourself as a zodiac sign, think about this. A zodiac sign is 3 degrees of the sky. It doesn't have any organs, a mouth, lips, eyes, consciousness, okay, a will or an intention to fulfill. It has none of that. Okay. While you identifying with the signs of the zodiac, you are every one of them motherfucking signs. Just like you are your heart, you are your nose, You are your ear. You are your big toe. If I stomp your big toe, I didn't stomp you. If I slap you upside the head and cuff your ear, I have slapped you. If I shoot you in the arm, I have shot you. So you don't say, oh, I'm not my arm. You identify yourself with this whole body. So you better identify yourself with the entire 360-degree scope and breadth of the heavens, because you are the heavens. Okay, you are the heavens. It's not you are a symbol of the heavens. You are the very moment you came into this world. You embodied all the energies available to coming in contact with you at the moment of your birth, and it impressed itself upon you. And this is why you like the things you like, want the things you want, don't like the shit you don't like, and all that. Why you do the things you do and choose the things you think that you're choosing. We can see all this in a chart.
Somebody asked, what are cradles in the chart?
Okay, there's a cradle in the sign of Cancer. There's a constellation, a sub constellation in the area of Cancer, about 90 degrees from about 90 degrees from the sign of Aries. Okay, there's the cradle, and on Christmas Day at midnight or shortly before midnight, you can see the cradle rising while the sun is in Capricorn being born, while the sun is being born. So that's why they say Jesus was born in the cradle. They also say that he rose into Jerusalem on 2 donkeys, right? Well, you have to understand that the heavens is the setting for the Bible. And the very top of the heavens is the sign of Cancer, okay, in this consideration. And Jerusalem is the eastern half of the chart. Pardon me, the western half of the chart. Well, the sun moves through that part of the chart. It's at the top. When it goes through Cancer, right before it, right as it's leaving Gemini, entering Cancer, entering Jerusalem, there's the sign of the asses there, the 2 donkeys, you see? Everything you find in the Bible, you're going to find in the sky. The whole Quran is set up the same way. To the Arabs, the first sign of the zodiac was the Pleiades. Okay, I know you heard of them. To the Aztec and the Central American, these were the market stars where Kukulkan lived, where Venus lived. And in modern astrology, Venus rules Taurus. He's at home in Taurus, and the market stars are Taurus. But in the Quran, you got a surah called the Fatiha. It's a very short surah with 7 verses. Well, the constellation, the first constellation to them was the Pleiades, and it is a very small constellation with 7 bright visible stars in it. Okay. After the Pleiades, you have Taurus the bull. And Taurus is a huge constellation compared to the Fatiha. Okay, the Fatiha, 7 verses. The chapter of the cow, which is symbolic to Taurus, is like 260 something verses or 280 something verses. Okay, it's big. Then after that chapter, you have the Imran. And Imran, I-M-R-A-N, is an Islamic tradition, not Jewish tradition or Christian tradition, but in Islamic tradition, Imran was the father of the 2 prophet brothers, Moses and Aaron. Okay, that's Gemini. Okay, then the 4th chapter of the Quran is a chapter of the women. The 4th sign of the zodiac is the sign of Cancer. And Cancer is the sign of women. Cancer represents women. The whole Quran is zodiacally set. It even mentions the constellation. It has a chapter in there named after the constellation, Al-Buruj. And for those Muslims that are getting in your feelings right now, because I had dealings with one earlier on my page today, who feel like your ego is being trampled on, or that your God is being disrespected. You disrespecting your God with your fake ass. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you that because if you're mad at me, you fake as hell. The Most High commands you to look in the sky and see his signs. That's not a request. And to look in the earth and see them, and to look in your own self and fusiho. Okay? So if you're not doing that, don't tell me about the fuck I'm not doing regarding your religion, because you ain't doing it either. Okay? You Christians that are upset that I'm talking astrology, okay? I just read in the Bible, I don't remember the chapter, I think it was Corinthians 9 or something like that. I don't remember. I remember this, that celestial alignments are purified by sacrifices. Now you can Google that and find the verse, okay? It wasn't demonizing the celestial alignments. It was giving you a remedy for how to deal with them in blood, which is very savage, because I don't do that. I don't sacrifice animals to the planet's motions. But your rabbis did.
Yeah.
So I don't. So if you want to find reason to fault me with your religion, I don't believe in your religion. I believe that the Most High talks to us through everything in existence. And anything you want to say about him after that is somebody's imagination. Anything.
Yo, we're going to hold the rest of this because I want to go get some tea and get into the right zone before the midnight hour. Because you can go until the break of dawn.
No, I can't, because my voice is getting scratchy as hell, and I need to do a reading tomorrow. So yeah, I'm with you. I concur.
Wrap it up, family. Definitely donate. Follow the ticker tape. Donate to further research. Money sign.
Find me on Instagram, COZMO361.
Yeah.
Follow me on Instagram.
And I want to thank you again for this generous energy you put forth. I don't know if it's a new moon or what kind of moon it is, but you was on fire, brother. So all I could say is the way you was rocking. What did my Muslim brother say? Alhamdulillah. Bismillah.
Yeah, all praises due to the Most High.
Yeah, man. Because you brought the house down. So family, like, subscribe, share, and listen. Yo, RaAkhu, when you ready to do another one, let's do it. Peace.
Peace.